Arrogant, throwing fits, ripping shit, tearing it, imperative. Then I'm killing this mic no matter where I live. These derelict rappers acting the fool, this embarrassing is flagrant. That's the nature of this entertainment. And we can't even change it. Guilty before arraignment, now the system tainted. But when we speak, they all laugh at us. And y'all wonder why I'm lacking trust. Try to fight a giant with attorneys that can back them up. That's church versus science. Both sides start acting up. I'm late on my assignment. Hopping up a mile high, climbing, obviously never silent. New alignment, I'm defiant, cannot describe it. Used to describe it as a young graffiti artist. Before the beard, I always got carded. Hit every bar, even though my bar's been the hardest. The scars on my face said I ain't always been the smartest. But I'll show you where my heart is. I said I'll show you where my heart is. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeves. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody will ever see. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody will ever see. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. I can show you where my...
The type of guy that would ride with the breeze. I'm higher than most people. I'm cold and icicle freeze. I'm liking to Mike Tyson. I'm a bison, a beast. I'm high like Jamaica, like right by the beach. My pops is from a spot where they're fighting for peace. 8 years old out there watching people fight in the streets. All these sirens only make the violence increase. Yeah, we're still not loving police. It's that bright young American, nice, dumb, arrogant. Tight on a mic, but he might need a therapist. Heart full of kerosene, head full of fairy tales. Said that you're my homie, you don't know me, but I know you very well. Roll back on some West Coast shit. This whole track is wetter than your dress code kiss. About to hit the track, running on some retro fit. It gets so lit, I guess so, bitch, now let's go.
I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeves. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody...
Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time of the week.
Let's go.
For another wonderful episode of Sports Nonsense and Whiskey. Hanging with the boys. Pinky, Robert. It's a beautiful time of the year, fellas.
Yes, it is.
We got just about every sport going on right now, and it is amazing. How we doing tonight?
Yeah, man, it's a lot to keep busy. We're busy.
Canada,
lot to keep up on.
Playing right now. Not that anybody else cares, but I was enjoying that. That's so.
What did he just say? He's got what playing?
Canada and Panama.
Oh,
Playing this evening.
USA starts at 8:30, right? Yeah.
Yes.
We got the World Series cracking right now. We got USA Mexico.
Not World Series, but
Postseason.
Well, sorry, MLB playoffs. I just kind of think of it as the World Series, kind of like the Stanley Cup. Like NHL playoffs, you say Stanley Cup, you just think playoffs. So a little ahead of myself. I apologize. We're just in the championship series. My bad. We got a lot to discuss tonight. Obviously, we're going to touch on baseball just to let you know kind of where we're at, who's there. We got no basketball tonight because we're going to go basketball crazy next week with the NBA season kicking off on next Tuesday. So we'll be discussing plenty of basketball next week. We got plenty of football to discuss. A little college, whole lot of NFL. And we got our boy back in the house. Mr. Repeat Offender himself, Mr. Cody Williams, coming in to give us a little NHL conversation. So, unless you guys have anything else you want to discuss, I say without further ado, we bring our boy on and we get jumping.
well, Cody's always welcome. We'll still talk shit while he's on here, so it's all good.
There
Cody's
he
our
is.
boy.
The man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Cody Williams. You're on mute, sir. There you go.
Yo, what's up, fellas? How you doing?
But
Fabulous, my guy. How are you?
Oh, another day in paradise and hanging with my fellas this evening.
Love it.
Cheers, my man. I'm going to drink enough for you, Cody.
Cody, I know you're sticking around with us this evening because you love to chop it up about anything and just hang out, but you also know your NFL, and you're going to be a part of that conversation. But before we get into that, if there's nonsense, we'll discuss it at the end of the show. We'll rip into that and see how it goes. But I want to jump in here because I know we got plenty of conversation to discuss when it comes to the NFL. But we do bring you on because of a little knowledge you might possess within the rink and the ice between the blue lines. And we want to get a little rundown, season preview, award type prediction, Stanley Cup prediction. I know you've got your cheat sheet. You got a little what do they call it? Cliff note kind of style NHL that you want to run down. So, good sir, where would you like to start?
Well, let's just start with like my playoff predictions and who's going to be on make the playoffs and who's kind of a sleeper team. We'll go by division real quick. We'll start in the East because I know you guys are all Avs fans, and we'll go on a little topic on the Avs. And at the end here,
we don't need to, Cody. It's fine. We don't need to.
Pinky's already as low as you can get with the Avs right now, so I think we'll be okay.
Okay, so let's just start in the East in the Eastern Conference. So the top teams, in my opinion, are going to be Hurricanes and the Rangers. But you also have Islanders, Penguins, Capitals. That the East, in my opinion, is more loaded than the West this year.
It feels like that for sure.
Where's the champs?
The champs is in the Metro, so we'll get there. Okay, in the Metro division. Okay, we'll get there.
I just count them as East or West. I don't count all those little divisions.
Oh yeah, but the top three. I'm not sure if you're familiar. Top three in each division make the playoffs, and you have 2 wild cards. So that's kind of how I'm breaking it down. But I'm not sure if you guys notice. Hear any Rangers talk, but their goalie Igor Shesterkin turned down 8 years, $88 million.
That's like, what does he think he's in the NBA all of a sudden? That's like great money in the NHL.
This guy's betting on himself, and Artemi Panarin just got paid, and he makes about $11.8 million.
Okay.
He's asking to be the highest paid Rangers player on the team. So he is betting on himself this year. But what kind of helps that out is the salary cap is rising next year. So I've done some research, and what I've heard that he'll walk away with and he'll be happy with is a 8-year, $100 million contract.
I'll give it to him right now.
I would if I was the Rangers, I'd do it right now too.
If his goals against this year are above 2, how likely is he to get that contract at the end of the year?
A good goalie, if you're below 2.5 goals nowadays with this high scoring,
it's 2.5 now. Okay.
Yeah, if you could stay below 2.5, you are really solid now.
Okay.
Just because there's scoring, the game's getting faster. So if you can stay below that 2.5 threshold, you're in the running for the Vezina.
Okay.
So yeah, and he's probably in the running for the Vezina regardless.
Yeah.
But in that Eastern Conference, I have the Hurricanes, the Rangers, and the Devils. Now the Penguins, Islanders, Capitals, those guys are all on the brink. They can sneak into that third spot. They can sneak into a wild card. But the Penguins are older now. Like Crosby re-signed with them. Guys are all older. So, I mean, they're kind of on their down.
Is Toronto in that division?
Toronto is in the Metro division.
Okay.
Okay. Now, and that's Panther. The top teams there are Bruins, Panthers, Lightning, and the Maple Leafs. I think probably take that 1-2 seed like they always do. I think they brought back a majority of their whole team, that whole championship team. So they're kind of running it back. So I think they'll be right there again, you know. So, but there, it's probably going to be Panthers, Lightning, Leafs in those top 3. And then I think Bruins are battling for a wild card. And my sleeper team out of the East can you guys hear me? Okay. My sleeper team out of the East is the Detroit Red Wings. Those teams, I believe they are on the rise.
I like that, actually. They do feel like they're starting to put together the pieces again.
Yeah, they really are. They've got a good young core. They're on the rise. I've liked the moves they've done this offseason. So we'll bounce to the West now and go through the Pacific. I mean, the Oilers made some moves, and they're going to be right there coming out of the West. I think they're probably going to be the top team in the West, in my opinion. They kind of kept that core together of Nugent Hopkins, McDavid, Draisaitl. They brought in Victor Arvidsson. He's a good depth scorer from LA Kings. He played for the LA Kings last year, and they brought in Jeff Skinner. That's a big name, another good depth piece. So they have built 3 good scoring lines to compete in those playoffs. Now can they make the playoffs? Their goaltending has started off a little 50-50, but they
kind
have
of what happened to them last year, isn't it? They kind of started off slow last year and then kind of fumbled their way through the middle of the season and then came out guns a-blazing that last third or quarter of the season.
Right at that last third of the season, they were hot, and that's what kind of helped their run. So, and then we'll go to the Central now. The Stars, the Predators made a lot of great moves. I think the Predators are going to be that top team coming out of the Central. But the Central's a dogfight this year, in my opinion. The Central Division is a dogfight with the Avs, the Stars, the Wild, the Jets. All those teams are really good. And my sleeper team that they have started off great is the Utah Hockey Club. They have started off great this year.
You had them as your sleeper team last year too.
Yeah, they started off great this year, and they have a good young core, and they brought in a little pieces here and there. I wouldn't be surprised if they make probably this year at the trade deadline, they make moves if they're close, or even that owner wants to spend some money and get a team for their fans. So don't be surprised if next offseason they spend a little cheddar there to get some players to come play for them.
Now, hold up just a second here. Pinky, when you said that was his sleeper last year too, are you talking the Phoenix Coyotes? Because
yes.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm clearing it up for the people at home to make sure that they understand you know what you're talking about. It's just same franchise, different name kind of thing. Pinky knows that the hockey club didn't exist last year. I just want to make sure people understand. No confusion. I don't need any of the hate mail from Pinky. Okay? Leave the guy alone. He knows what he's doing. He listens to Cody.
That I do.
So with that whole move, that new owner wants to spend some money. So don't be surprised if they're actually halfway decent in this year and or the next.
I like that. I like that you said the Central's a dogfight because it truly feels like all those teams are kind of one in the same. One's a little bit better at this, one's a little bit better at that, but overall, that bottom dollar line, they're all about that, call it an 85, right? They're all kind of like there, and they've all got some weaknesses that are going to have to be addressed.
How do you build a fan base?
How do you build a fan base? By winning.
Winning, baby. Gotta win. Gotta win.
And so I mean, the Utah fans, they were hyped right when they heard they got a team, and I mean, there's something to be excited about with this great start they've had. Well, let's talk a little bit of Avs. Just to kind of, just to put it out there. Y'all need some goalies.
I think our goalies might be blind right about now.
Cody, nobody wants to listen to
I
me.
don't really care.
Nobody wants to listen. Remember how much shit I took when I said Gorgiev wasn't the dude?
Gorgiev's not the dude. I mean, and Noonan, he's young, so he has to learn. But y'all, your goalies are some Swiss cheese right now.
I didn't watch the last 2 games, but I watched a good portion of the first game, and there were 2 goals like in a row that like basically it's like, what are you gonna do when you've got 2 guys coming right at you and they're just passing the puck perfectly to each other and there's no defenseman to help you out? I mean, you're kind of left out to dry today. And, in today's game where these guys can handle the puck so well and shoot it just like that. I mean, but
glove side, baby. If a goalie's allowing glove side goals, it's over. It's what I've always been taught. It's what I was always told. I had a buddy who was an all-state hockey player in high school, and he was the goalie. And he always said, like, if I allow a glove side goal, I may as well just quit. Like, that's unacceptable. So you start seeing that at the pro level, and yeah, the defense has been a little spotty. I'm not going to say, what's in front of him has been stellar, but at some point the goalie has to step up too. And unfortunately, it just hasn't happened the way that they had hoped when they made that trade for him as Shesterkin's backup, wasn't he? Didn't he come out of New York as Shesterkin's backup?
He was Lundqvist's backup for a while, and then they got Shesterkin and kind of moved Georgiev. Or just, there was no path to him to start. So they kind of sent him over as in, I mean, you guys should have never let Kemper walk, in my opinion.
They didn't want to spend that $8 million. That's been Sakic's thing. He doesn't want to spend money on goalies. They're spending it everywhere else,
which makes no sense because he won his cups with the best goalie that ever played the game.
Yep.
Like, you would think he would understand how important that position is, given his history with the Avalanche and what they did.
I think their first 3 draft picks this year were all goalies.
We'll see what happens. All right, Cody.
Yeah.
We got some dark horses. We got some teams to pay attention to. Who are we looking at for these awards? Conn Smythe, the Venza. What are we looking
at? Conn Smythe, it depends who makes playoffs. But, I mean, McDavid went on an incredible run and led the playoffs in points. And he got it as a losing team. Like, that's impressive. So, I mean, it all depends who goes on a run. I mean, my front runner for MVP Hart Trophy is Connor McDavid.
I mean, let's think about it. Any normal situation, he won it last year. It's just McKinnon played out of his mind and basically carried the ad. So it gave him a little bit of a boost. If McDavid does anything like he did last year, like, I think he runs away with it this year. I don't think the voters would miss that opportunity twice, right?
Yeah, I've been I've been a McDavid hater, but what he did in the playoffs impressed me. I'll say it. I was a McDavid hater for the longest time. Like, when he came out, like, he's just fast, and then playoffs came around and he put the team on his back and led the whole playoffs in points. But another team another player I wouldn't be surprised if he was in the running is Austin Matthews out of Toronto. Those two are probably 2 of the best in the league. They're going to be 2 of the best in the league for 5-6 years down the road.
Yeah.
So it's going to be between those two guys. Now, my sleeper pick for the Hart Trophy, Connor Bedard.
I like that. Did you see him in the preseason? Got tired of dudes tapping on him, and he finally threw his own gloves down and went and started a little smoke himself. I love seeing that.
Yeah, as a young guy, you love seeing it, but you're also scared to see it. You don't
well,
want to.
Yeah, I mean, you don't necessarily want to see him. Yeah, Connor, he doesn't need to be taking no right hooks, but at the same time, did you see how quickly his goons showed up? And they're like, oh, hell yeah, let's get in on this.
Yeah, let's go. Let's rumble, So, yeah, Connor Bedard is my sleeper pick for the Hart. Now, the Norris best defenseman, I think Kel McCarr is going to show us something. Like,
it feels like a bounce back year coming, doesn't it?
I have a bounce back year. Always, you have to think Victor Hedman out of Tampa Bay. That's probably one of the top defensemen. But I think Kel McCarr is going to be in that running. And he's going to have a bounce back year. A great offensive year. I think they'll figure out this, I think they'll figure that.
We're losing you a little bit, my guy. We're losing you. Yeah, your mic cut out completely, I think. Let's give Cody a second. the Connor Bedard pick, for those that may not be familiar. Yeah, there you go.
Sorry, it's my AirPods.
Dude, mine do the same thing. Just leave them out. We can hear you way better this way.
Yeah, those AirPods mess it up, man.
Yeah, so Connor Bedard's my sleeper pick for MVP. I mean,
I think people, I love that you threw him in there because I think people might have forgotten how hot he started off last year before the concussions hit in. And he just had kind of issues getting back on the ice, and they kind of slow played it to make sure that it wasn't an issue that continued for him throughout the season. Unlike what the Dolphins have done with Tua, the Blackhawks took a very conservative approach with Bedard last year.
Yep.
And it kind of cut his rookie season off at the knees. But he started off hot. And there's no reason to think he won't be just straight smoking people to start this season too. So I love that you threw that out there and kind of made people remember how good he really is.
He's going to need a 50 to 60 goal season to make that happen. And I mean, I don't know if it's his time yet. It's not his time yet.
If anyone could surprise and do it, it's him.
Two questions for you, Cody.
Go for it.
I know you're a Ducks guy.
Yes, sir.
And I know they've got a couple crazy young talented dudes with the puck. But I haven't heard much coming out of that team this offseason. I haven't heard much about those two young stars. What can we expect from the Ducks? Because, and you throw out the names because you're much better at pronouncing things than I, but let the people know because they're fun to watch.
My most excited player that I'm most excited for coming out of the Ducks is Cutter Gauthier. We got him from the Flyers, traded Jamie Drysdale. It's kind of hey, you need defenseman? We'll take this guy. And Cutter Gauthier didn't want to play for him, so it was kind of okay, well, let's get what we can for him. But that Ducks team is young. It's exciting. You have Leo Carlson, our first round pick from last year. He's an exciting player to watch. He's still developing, still getting, that muscle built on him. Of course, you have Trevor Zegras. He's a magician with the puck.
That dude is, so fun.
Now, but the issue with my Ducks are, can we stay healthy this year?
Okay.
And it was like that last year. Can we stay healthy? Can we compete? That was the issue.
I actually have and maybe I shouldn't say this out loud because we all know what happens when I do, so I apologize ahead of time. But
he's going to do it.
I actually like your Ducks as a dark horse this year. One, because they're bringing back the uniforms.
Mm-hmm.
That right there is points on points. I don't care what anybody says. You look good, you feel good, you play good. Everybody knows that. Those jerseys are the baddest ass jerseys in the league next to the Blackhawks. Still have to have Blackhawks at one, personally, but them Ducks are two. I love those jerseys. Stoked that they're bringing them back, and they're rekindling that past history like they should have never let go.
It's got to have a duck on the jersey, not the damn flipper. Whoever in marketing came up with that should have been fired.
Yeah.
Instantly.
The duck on the jersey is where it's at, period.
Now, remind me to send you the Vans and Ducks collab shoes. Now, those are top notch.
I like hearing that already. All right. Second question. Do we see history this year? Does the unbreakable record get broken?
Which is?
Ovi and the goals.
Ovi and the goals. He just got his 700 career assist tonight.
I know.
I mean, I think he needs to play at least 3-4 more years to touch that record. I feel like he's slowing down a little bit, getting a little long in the tooth. Age is his biggest, his worst enemy right now.
He's 42, right? If I remember correctly, we're 42 away.
And he needs 42. Yeah, there's no way he's doing that this year.
He's got to play at least 3 more years. I mean, and hockey's a tough sport. But I mean,
he had what, 27 last year?
Yeah, he had 27 last year.
So I mean, this year and next year.
The last 15 games of the season, he had to go on a tear to get there.
That's true. That's true.
So I mean, if he can go on a tear, he can reach it in 2. But he has to. I mean, he still has one of the nastiest one-timers I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He's deadly on the power play.
Washington's also not what they were. What was it, 4 years ago when they won the Cup, right? So, it's the team around him isn't as good either, so it limits his opportunities. But I think the fact that we're even talking about it is pretty wild, considering his assist record is even more untouchable. But that goal record was kind of looked at like Cal Ripken's games played streak. Like, it was just never going to be equal because of all the factors of the new era and the way the game's played, right?
Yep. Yeah, so, personally, I think he needs at least 3 more years to get out, to reach it. I just feel like he's slowing down. Age catches up to you. So, I mean, and, he has good players around him. He's always playing on that top line. The opportunities will be there, but we'll see. That's an exciting storyline to watch. But, also, just to throw that out there, is he setting that goal record for McDavid to break?
Well, I mean, there is some talk coming up now that McDavid might do something that we hadn't thought about, and he's well on his way. So that is a good point.
Yeah,
longevity is the key to that, and that's hard, man. It's
what's
hard.
great about McDavid though is he plays very much like Gretzky in the sense that he can fly around that ice without ever getting touched. And the fact that he plays for the Oilers, it just makes that even more enticing. I mean, if he could break the record where Gretzky started and pretty much solidified the records, that'd be insane.
So if he stayed on the same pace he's on right now for the next 10 years, he'd still be over 200 goals short.
I know. It's that's why the record's insane. And that's why it's even crazy that people were talking about Ovi as possibly being the greatest scorer of all time, at least in that conversation. But they also said he's not going to touch Gretzky's goal record. Now he's within striking distance, so it gives more credibility to that statement. I mean, Ovi's one of the best of all time, right? Sidney Crosby, one of the best of all time. So this era of hockey has had a bigger star impact than I think people realize, and that's simply because hockey and their strike almost killed themselves and took a lot of that conversation out of the public eye for 3 to 5 years before they really started coming back into view. And if they had never signed that deal with ESPN, I don't know if we'd even be talking about it as much as we are right now, because there still wouldn't have been as much coverage as you truly would have needed.
Yep, exactly.
All right, fellas. Any other questions for Cody? Any other thoughts that you'd like to discuss about the upcoming season?
I mean, I'll probably have questions as we're only a couple games in.
Yeah, we're like 5-6 games in. Yeah,
I know we'll get you back again. I'll probably have some more questions then. Like we're just getting kind of warmed up.
Yeah.
Probably pay more attention to hockey right around January, because that's like, now we're in playoff season for football, so it's only on the weekend. There's no Monday, there's no Thursday, so then hockey kind of takes up the middle of the week for me. And then we get back to football on the weekend. So I'll have some more questions when we get you back.
Yeah, around. But just to throw that out there, my Stanley Cup final prediction.
That's all it lasts.
I have a repeat: Oilers-Panthers.
Do the Oilers get it done this year?
I feel like the Oilers are going to get it done this year.
I don't care what anybody says.
I feel like
even if you're not a fan of that team, watching McDavid play, and to a lesser extent Draisaitl alongside him, it's just fun hockey. Like, it's just fun hockey.
And the only reason why I say the Oilers are the Oilers are going to get it done this year, go watch what they did after that last defeat. McDavid's like, we're not done. We got to continue to work.
Yeah, the dude had people mad at him because he wouldn't come out and talk with the commish from Bettman and get his award. And he said, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And I think
That's
people
called
out there talking about how it was unsportsman or he could have done better or he should have accepted it. Get out of here. That dude's playing for what really matters. And that's what we always talk about. Now you're going to be mad at him because he didn't come out and collect a second place trophy?
He knows
Nonsense.
he needs a cup. That's it. Like once he gets a cup, he's probably going to etch his name in one of the top players of all time. But he's got to get that cup.
But he also, that if that proves to you about anything, he doesn't care about any of the awards. He doesn't care about the Conn Smythe. He doesn't care about the MVP. What he cares about is being able to hold that trophy around the ice and skate and then get his name on that plaque for all time. That's all he cares about. And if you don't like that from your player, go find a new team because that's all you should want. I love it, Cody. I love it. We'll definitely have you back as always during the season. We'll probably do around January, right before All-Star break, and then we do right before playoffs, and then during playoffs. Cody's our guy. Cody knows. He's the guy. You want hockey information? Ask us a question, and we'll go talk to Cody.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. That is the way to go.
All right, baseball, real quick. Dodgers, Mets. Tied 1-1. Yankees and the Guardians. Yankees are up 1-0. We are. I missed the inning. Are we in the 7th or 8th inning? I think
sixth. Seventh. It's going to the 7th.
Going into the 7th. Yankees are up 3-2 right now.
4-2.
4-2. Oh, I missed that last run. Okay. It's sitting right here too. I don't know how I missed it. I apologize. 4-2. Going into the 7th, it's a good game. The first game was pretty good. This one's been good. Both the NL games have been blowouts so far. So it'll be interesting to see how those series play out. I still like my original pick with the Dodgers Yankees just because I want to see the two best in the league playing against each other.
Yeah.
In Ohtani and Judge. I will say this before we leave baseball. The people that are trying to blast Ohtani and talk about him as not the best player because he's going through a little slump with nobody on base. It's like 1 for 15 with runners on. With nobody on. And he's like 6 for 11 or something like that with runners on. Okay, that doesn't sound bad to me. This is baseball, guys. Anything above 300 is good. That's right in the ballpark. He's driven in a bunch of runs. He's stolen some bases. What more do you want from the guy? Like, I don't understand baseball people trying to bash him for having a mini slump right now when that's common. Now, I know you want to see your stars step up in the postseason, but he's had a good postseason. So a little mini slump to start the NLCS is not something that concerns me right now. Anything else baseball, fellas?
That's what we want. Dodgers, Yankees. It's what we want. It's what the media wants. It's what that's what Major League Baseball wants. We know that. Like the amount of people that will watch that series, it will be off the charts.
I think that will set records. But we still got to get there, so we'll see what happens.
Even though a Subway Series, World Series, that'd be kind of fun.
That is close second.
For that revenue, you want the Dodgers Yankees, both two crazy fan bases, two of the best players in the league. Now imagine if Ohtani was pitching too.
Dude,
how much more we would be talking this.
That's to think that he's doing what he did this year and next year he could be doing the same thing and pitching. It blows my mind. So that's what we need. And if you've listened to us long enough, I could care less about the media markets, and that's what the leagues want, and it's good for the leagues. I want to see the two best teams. It just so happens right now, I believe the two best teams also have the two best players on them. And it's very rare in sports where you get to actually witness the two best players in the game playing against each other in a championship. A lot of times they're in the same league. And so they're playing each other to get to the championship rather than playing for the championship. So there's a reason the LeBron versus the Golden State Warriors was such a big deal, because it was LeBron versus Steph. And those were the two best players in the game. That's why those finals hit so hard every time they showed up. You don't see it often in baseball, I feel like, and the fact that the opportunity is there, I'm pulling for it.
Before we move on to the next sports topic, I do have a question for Cody.
Yes, sir.
Now, Cody, we had one of our good friends on last week. I don't know if you got to catch the show, but we did talk some wrestling. If you didn't catch it, you might want to pull up that episode, the first 30 minutes or so. And my buddy's a big wrestling fan. He's been to 10 WrestleManias. He's already got tickets to the next one in Vegas.
I'm jealous.
Right.
So
right.
That's his thing. And so we talked about the Mount Rushmore of wrestling for each one of us. And I'm curious, who would be on your Mount Rushmore of wrestling legends?
I gotta say, I am a huge Stone Cold Steve Austin guy.
Aren't we all? Aren't we all?
Of course. Put him, so he's on there. Shawn Michaels is on there, because we wouldn't be talking much wrestling today if it wasn't him. I grew up a Triple H guy too. You know, Triple H was my childhood and that whole Attitude Era. So I'd have Stone Cold, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and I'd probably put Taker on there.
Undertaker, very good.
But honorable mentions, Mick Foley, The Rock, of course. Yeah, all those.
I don't think you, like, anybody you talk to, you ask them their top four. Of course, everybody's got their own connection to the guys they like. But I feel like we could keep naming guys that we would have, on our list, because they all created some type of feeling for us, right?
Yeah.
I think
watching Raw, and just every episode, Stone Cold was there just causing chaos, just doing something.
You didn't know what he was going to do.
Yeah.
And they pretty much copied that from WCW, and they did it at the right time. So Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Stone Cold, The Rock, like, those guys saved WWE for sure. Mm-hmm. That's awesome, man. That's a great list. Like I said, I don't think you can go wrong. Like, you get four guys you pick. I just don't know. I don't know if there's a bad list out there. So, cheers. Hopefully, we could talk some more wrestling later. We'll have a couple more wrestling centric shows here in the future. It definitely brought back some good memories. All right, Caleb, you're up.
The Heisman race is over. Genty's winning. There's no coming back from it now. I said before, Travis Hunter was my front runner, but he had to continue throughout the season because he was doing something that had never been seen before. And he was doing it at an elite level. But he missed basically the entire game last week. And you can't have 1 week off and, in my mind, still win the award when Genty is putting up numbers that, I mean, if we're being honest, we didn't think were possible. And I don't want to hear he's not playing in a Power 4. He is playing Division I football, and he is doing it against anyone and everyone that steps on the field with him. And I saw a stat that blew my mind the other day, and I can't remember the exact numbers, and I couldn't go back and find it, unfortunately. One of those things where I had it on my phone, and then I had to go do something, came back, and everything refreshed and couldn't find it again. But basically, it was along the lines of he's basically at 1,000 yards right now through 6 games, and 600 of those, I believe, are after contact. He's basically still leading the nation in rushing if you take away everything before he's touched. Like, he's averaging 8 yards a carry. He's got, I think it's at 12 touchdowns now. A little over 1,000 yards, I believe. And he's doing this on minimum carries and not playing second halves. It's absurd. It is absolutely absurd. And I don't see any way anybody catches him now because Travis Hunter missed an entire game, basically. So it's done. Wrap it.
Yeah, I think the next guy and leading the league in leading the whole league in rushing in college, it's like 300 yards behind him, which is crazy.
Yeah,
it's not even a close race.
Well, Caleb, we've got some more time to go. I won't say I'll disagree with you, but he does play the most volatile position for injuries. And again, if you're putting him up there, that one bad game could do the same for him, right? And kind of pull him down.
So, I mean, look, I'm going to continue to evaluate this on basically a weekly basis as we go forward, and it's going to be a hot take every week, if you will. But I'm just trying to keep you up to date where I feel the race is. And I said Travis Hunter, if he doesn't miss any games and he continues on the level, he wins it in my mind. Well, he decided, that wasn't going to be possible. So at this point, I don't see how anybody catches Genty unless he gets injured. I think a bad game for him, Pinky, is still over 100 yards and a tud.
Probably.
So, even if he has a bad game, I don't think it derails him. He is going to have to not play a game. And if that happens, then I think you could have a conversation between him and Hunter again. But in my mind, there's no quarterback this year that's in the running. There's no quarterback that's even close in the conversation. All the receivers that you thought might be in the running to begin the season are no longer there. Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams, I would not be mad at all if they were invited at the end of the year, but they're not putting up numbers that are historically significant at this point in time. They're putting up insane numbers as freshmen, and they might be the two best receivers in the country right now as freshmen, but they're not putting up numbers that would jump them over in my mind, a Travis Hunter still or a Genty in that regard. Milroe was the closest quarterback, but that loss to Vanderbilt nixed any chance he had of winning the Heisman. So it feels like it's a two-horse race with one horse drastically ahead of the other at this point.
Not so fast, my friend. We'll see. Milroe can get back in it. He plays for Alabama. You know that Alabama bias is out there, bro. It's there. He puts up some stud performances down the stretch. They're going to be in, that playoff contention. Like,
yeah, but he's got to do something historic at this point to make up for that Vandy loss.
I think in a few weeks people will forget. They keep rolling and they keep winning.
Pinky,
people will forget.
The only people that are going to forget that Vandy loss are Bama fans. And that's because they drank it out of their memory. The rest of the country will not forget that loss. There is no way. I called it the biggest upset in college football history. What makes you think it's just going to randomly go away?
If they're in the playoffs and they're still right there with one loss, I still think people are going to be like, oh, they just had a bad game.
Well, they play Texas this weekend.
No, Georgia plays Texas this weekend.
I thought it was Bama.
It's Georgia.
It's Georgia, Texas? When does Bama play Texas? Well, anyways, that's about all I've got. The last thing I will say with college football is I don't know what the hell Texas is thinking taking Arch out and reinstating Ewers. It still blows my mind. It doesn't make any sense. I don't think he's the better quarterback. I think he just might be – I don't even know if he's better right now anymore. He might be a little bit more higher floor than what Arch can produce because Arch hasn't had as much playing time. But the ceiling with Arch is way higher.
It's fear of the unknown.
silly, is what it is.
It's fear of the unknown. If he played poorly, Ewers has got a very short leash. He plays bad in a half. I wouldn't be shocked to see Manning trotting out there for the second half. So
he didn't play. He had a lot of rust he was trying to knock off last week.
Took him a little bit to get going. So we'll see. Thankfully, they were playing Oklahoma, though. Oklahoma's not really that great. So
Texas and Bama don't play this year. It was Georgia. My bad. I don't know why I was thinking that was Bama, Texas. I think Texas smokes Georgia. I think Georgia's been overrated. I don't think that quarterback is as good as everybody was trying to make it sound beginning of the year. I think Texas rolls. But we'll see. We'll see. We almost had a couple good upsets last week to talk about, but teams managed to find a way. So gotta love college football. There's a lot going on. I will say, and I don't say this to talk about my Huskers. I say this actually to talk about the Indiana Hoosiers. Nebraska and Indiana play this weekend. Nebraska's 5-1 with that overtime loss to Illinois. Indiana's 6-0. And I mentioned this last week. You know, I had talked about Nebraska being my dark horse to maybe make the playoffs for a couple different reasons. I did not see Indiana doing this in any shape, way, or form. And they are playing great ball under their first-year head coach. It would not surprise me if they were able to beat Nebraska. I do like Nebraska in the game because of Nebraska's defense. But I think it's going to be a really good game. And a couple of years ago, if I had come on here and said, hey, really good game this weekend that everybody should be watching, Indiana, Nebraska, I would have gotten laughed out of here. Pinky would have removed me. He wouldn't even mute it. He would have removed me, and that would have been the end of the conversation. But it is a game worth watching this weekend because it does have playoff implications at this point in time. The Big Ten is rolling. Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State, Indiana. There are some teams at the top right now that look like at least 2 of those 4 are making the playoffs. So pay attention because these games matter more and more every week the deeper into the season we go. And what's cool, we've said this time and time again, we're going to keep pounding it in everybody's head. What we love about the playoffs being 12 teams now is even 2 losses is not going to end your season anymore. So every game matters even more than it used to, in my opinion. Because a lot of times in previous years with the BCS and everything else that we had, 1 loss and you could almost count your season over. And there wasn't a reason to be excited or hopeful after that. That's not the case anymore. So I'm very excited to see what this weekend holds. Texas, Georgia, big game. Nebraska, Indiana, 2 years ago, laughed at. This weekend, it does mean something. It's a big game. There's a couple others out there. I'm not going to go through all of them, but
Bama and Tennessee is the next big game.
That was the next one I was going to bring up. So fair enough. Let's just talk about it. There's some games worth watching this year in college football. And for the most part, what Pinky disliked about college football in the past hasn't really been an issue this year. We've been seeing a lot of good games with the top teams, not blowouts or teams not showing up when they need to.
Maybe the transfer portal has helped even things out across the
between
teams.
NIL
There
and
has not
transfer
been
portal.
There has not been the huge blowouts that we've had in the past. So there's still been a couple, but for most of the games that have been hyped up, they've been good games. That Oregon-Ohio State game was great. That was a fun game to watch.
Yeah, it
so
was.
I'm with you. All right.
Cheers, my guy.
Cheers. All right, let's bring Robert back to the podcast. I think he moved. He moved when you mentioned the Red Wings, and then I think he's been pretty
I've just been chilling.
much laser focused since then. Robert, we had some trades go down today that we got to talk about.
There were quite a few things. So
Tell me about it.
So Devontae Adams went to the Jets. That was pretty wild.
Free
I mean, it's what
Devontae.
everybody expected to happen at the beginning of the season. We just didn't know when it was going to happen.
Sure, but I find it funny when everyone is also reporting that, like, oh, no, Devontae Adams is going to stay with the Raiders like a week ago.
Well, that's because the Raiders started playing the F around and find out game. And, honestly, if the Jets hadn't lost last night, we might not be talking about that trade today.
True.
I feel like that trade was happening regardless because Devontae's
yeah.
hamstring was like, oh man, this hamstring. I don't know, guys. I don't know if I can come back and play for Aiden O'Connell.
Straight
I just
up.
can't do it. So I'm happy for Devontae. I'm in a group chat with a bunch of guys, and one of the guys had some takes about, just being selfish and, and I was just like, I kind of get that. Like, part of me is like, yeah, honor your contract, all that. But at the end of the day, you only have so many years to play football. You never really know when it could be over, when something really bad can happen to you on the football field. Do you want to really waste those years and time with an organization that's not going anywhere?
It's more than that. And whoever said that, you can tell me off camera so I can blast him behind closed doors, because that's an idiot comment. And I say that because he went to the Raiders for one reason and one reason only. There's only one reason he agreed to play with that team. And then they traded that reason away. And that's Derek Carr. Well, they didn't trade him away. They allowed him to walk, but that was the only reason Davante Adams went to that team.
He's got family in that area, and he likes the Vegas area itself. So there was some other parts to that.
Let's be honest. If Derek Carr wasn't there, he's not going to Vegas.
Probably
Period.
not.
End of story. So to act like he's doing that team a disservice. Oh, he should honor his contract. Maybe they should have kept the quarterback there because that's the reason he came there. So if you have an agreement of, hey, I'm coming there because I want to play with this dude, and then you trade that dude away and you don't replace that dude with another dude, why should he honor his contract? They didn't honor their side. I'm tired of people doing this, oh, the players need to honor their contracts when the teams don't honor their side of the contract. That's nonsense. I'm tired of listening to it. That's that old school, tired, get off my lawn mentality where it's my team and I'm always going to cheer for my team. And if the player leaves or he holds that, that's why Aaron Rodgers got such a bad rap, because the national media, he didn't put up with their BS. And then he held the team hostage because the team wasn't doing things that they needed to do. I appreciate that. If I have a player on my team trying to hold the team accountable, I would be stoked about that rather than going off on said player. So anybody trying to talk about Davante Adams as selfish, I think needs to check their comments a little bit.
How'd you feel about that trade, Robert?
I thought it was great. I think the Jets have way too many wide receivers in their room and not enough running backs. So I think it's a great addition to the Jets to be able to maybe weaponize something and salvage whatever they have left.
Running back is not their issue, Robert.
I don't think it's their issue, but they have too many wide receivers, in my opinion.
I mean, they've got quite a few now, but
they have two now, and that's all that matters. They have two studs. And this is going to help Garrett Wilson. I fully believe Garrett Wilson goes off now because of this.
So we'll see what happens with this, but I mean, I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see what happens. I mean, the game last night was pretty entertaining to watch, minus the wind issues with kicking field goals. That shit was wild, but overall,
or like the 20-some penalties.
Dude, that roughing the passer was bullshit.
Yeah, and Rodgers came out and said it after the game.
And I'm happy he did because that shit was dumb.
That was bad. There was there were a couple of them.
There was a lot of bad penalties last night. Side note, real quick, Rodgers threw out a 10 out of 10 reference, and one of the best references I've heard in a press conference in many a year when he threw out the Sarcastaball reference. And if anyone is not familiar with the Sarcastaball reference, I'm going to tell you to go look it up on YouTube and watch the South Park episode, because it is phenomenal. And it couldn't have been a better reference for what happened last night.
I may miss that, so I'll have to check it out. I don't remember hearing
that. What other trade? Quality. Well, I should get Cody. What did you think? We didn't even get Cody in on this.
I thought it was a great move for the Jets. You know, they're only 2 games back now. They're 2 games behind the Bills. So they need some firepower. You know, more firepower. It was kind of an arms race today out in the AFC East, though. We'll touch up. I'll
go move right on. Move right into it.
You know, my wife's uncle's a Bills fan, and And let's just say he's a delusional Bills fan. When this Devontae Adams trade went down, he was a little upset. You know? But then probably an hour later, it says Bills acquire Amari Cooper. And I was all like, oh, they're I go, looks like the AFC East is playing chess right now.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. Is there a better wide receiver that can fit what the Bills are trying to do with that whole unselfish kind of vibe right now? Is there a better wide receiver to fit into that scheme right now than Amari Cooper?
Dude, I love Amari Cooper in this. I love him.
Yeah,
Dude's quiet.
awesome.
He goes to work. You never hear him talk. He just catches balls and gains yards.
Well,
like
he has the most drops this year, but I think that's because he's played for the Browns.
Yeah.
There's probably a lack of concentration given the scenarios around him.
Yes.
It's not something his career has been known for per se. So that is interesting. I love the pickup for them and Josh Allen. Going back to the Jets real quick. Cody touched on this. They're 2 games back of the Bills right now, which, given the way each team has played, can sound like a little bit more than 2 games. You go look at the Jets' next 9 games. 7 of those 9 are they should be easily obtainable wins. Which you go 7-9 over the next 9. I mean, you win 7 out of the next 9. You are now 9-5. You're right back in the. I mean, 9-6. You're right back in the hunt for everything.
The Jets are going to be fighting. They're going to be clawing back, but based on Buffalo's schedule, there's an avenue to get back into that first place conversation.
I was looking at the Bills schedule, and they have a gauntlet.
Yeah,
They're going to be hitting like in the next, not these next 2 weeks, but after the next 2 weeks, they're hitting a gauntlet of teams.
very opposite strengths of schedule coming up for those 2 teams, and it's going to get really interesting to see how it plays out over these next, call it 10 weeks, 2 months, going to Christmas. By Christmas, I think we're going to have a really good idea. I mean, that's the end of the season, but we're going to have a really good idea of what those 2 teams look like, because I think based on their schedules, we're going to see those 2 teams in the playoffs. It's just going to be who wins that division.
It's going to be close. It's going to be close. This is not an insurmountable hole that the Jets have dug themselves, but they got some work to do. They got some work to do. And I don't know if Devontae Adams makes that offensive line any better. So
that offensive line is awful.
There's some truth to that, Pinky. I think the silver lining that Rodgers is looking at, though, is he now has a dude who they don't have to think about what they're doing on the field. Rodgers can just throw it up, and it's pretty much – I mean, look what they did in Green Bay when it was 3rd and whatever. I'm just going to force it to Devontae, and we're going to get a first down.
Devontae's going to run the right route. But now he has Garrett Wilson on
the other side, right? It's not just Devontae anymore like it was in Green Bay. It's Devontae and then Garrett Wilson.
Yep.
And I am hard to say there's a better wide receiver duo in the league now than those 2 dudes with Aaron Rodgers. And I think Aaron Rodgers showed us last week, while they lost, I guess it was last night, but while they lost, he looked like that rust was almost all the way knocked off last night, in my opinion. It looked like some of those balls he was throwing were like,
that play calling was drastically improved.
Yes, it was.
Somehow they were like, you know what? Maybe we will give the ball to Breece Hall. Maybe we will.
It's funny. It's the same play sheet. Same play sheet. Just one guy has a better idea of what the game is doing and how to call plays. Nathaniel Hackett never has.
I don't know if he'll get another job calling plays again.
I'm going to tell you right now, if him or Luke Getsy gets another opportunity at being an OC,
Luke Getsy's not been fired yet. Luke Getsy's still working on with the Raiders. He's still trying.
Nathaniel Hackett hasn't been fired yet technically either. He's just not – he's still the OC in name. He's just not calling the plays. So if either one of those dudes get another job, it would be a miracle. So we'll see. We'll see. What other trades do we have, sir?
Robert probably doesn't know the next one. It was a small trade. Cam Akers got traded from the Texans to the Vikings.
Oh, that I did see in the chat.
But again, Mixon's back. Pierce is back. Ungliane or whatever I can't say his name.
Awale?
That guy.
Yeah.
That guy. He's been playing pretty steady. There wasn't really a need for Cam Akers anymore. Cam played for the Vikings last season. He's got some familiarity with the offense and the scheme. And Aaron Jones might be a little more banged up than we thought.
Yeah,
It's a great move for both teams. Texans had the depth to move on from. Vikings needed a little bit of depth. They bring in a piece, like Pinky said, that's familiar with the offense. And it goes back even farther than just the days of the Vikings.
Right. It's the same
He was
offense
drafted
from
by the Rams, where O'Connell came from. So that whole offense is very familiar to Akers. Akers came in his rookie year as a stud and then had the ACL tear, and he's been working his way back from that. He's looked solid with Houston. So I think it's a great depth move by Minnesota. They're undefeated. They want to make sure they're able to continue to build on their momentum. So rarely do you see win-win trades. I think that qualifies as one.
I would say so. And then, because who do the Vikings play this week? They have a pretty big game this week, don't they?
Yeah, Detroit.
That's right. Yeah. Oof.
Oh, that's an 11.
So now let's talk
Let's
about
do
the
this.
trade that hasn't happened but should.
Ooh, pick me. I know which one.
Oh, well, Cody, go ahead. Let's see if we're on the same page.
Let's see. I believe someone's rebuilding it as in the Las Vegas Raiders, and they need to move on from Max Crosby and get what you can for him.
Where should
Yes.
Max Crosby go? Who should be
The
dogpiling on that?
Lions.
Well, I think someone had a nasty injury, so I think the Lions need some edge help.
Man,
I mean,
Aiden
at this point in
Hutchinson.
time, and Pinky, you know, I have been steadfast in this take for many years. But if you're competing in a position where you have a shot at a Super Bowl run, your first round pick becomes null and void, in my opinion. It's as good as the second round pick. Move it on for a stud. Move it for a stud. The fact that Dallas hasn't done that in the last 3 or 4 years blows my mind on many different levels for many different players. But Detroit right now, they are one of the Super Bowl teams that could get there. Their odds were better with Hutchinson. Once he goes down, that hurts that defense a lot. You know, that their pass rush is non-existent now without Hutchinson. You bring in arguably the best defender in the league in Crosby, throw your first to him and move along.
In 5 games, the Lions have 7.5 sacks. Hutch had 6.5.
What a baller.
Yeah. So why is this even a question? If you're the Raiders, if you're offered a first for Crosby, do you even think twice about it? Like, you want 2 firsts for Crosby?
Crosby is literally the face of their franchise right now. And he is a very, I think some people maybe don't understand. We watch a lot of Raiders games because, again, the Raiders are on here a lot, being, division opponents of the Broncos. So we see a lot of Raiders games. Max Crosby is super underrated league-wide. He is on that list of top defenders in the league.
Absolutely.
That's worth 2 firsts.
Mm-hmm.
And for the Lions, you've built up this great roster. You're on that verge of, we're right there knocking on the door. And now Hutch is gone. And that changes up your whole defense. Because your secondary is not – it's real young. It's not great. It's better when you got pressure.
Yeah.
And if you've got nobody creating pressure besides Hutch, I don't see how they don't end up in shootouts.
I mean, I'd give 2 firsts for that in a heartbeat because at that point, Crosby is a loyal dude.
Mm-hmm.
And if you show him that you're willing to not just trade for him, but work on a deal with him long term, he will stay in Detroit. He's got no reason to bounce somewhere else.
On it. I think he's already on a deal.
Well, I'm just saying long term. Imagine him and Crosby and Hutchinson to finish up Crosby's career. And I don't want to hear salary cap from anybody. The Rams have proven time and again, along with some other situations, that you can manipulate that for your window as much as you need to.
So
and not only that, you only have to take a year off after that to then start playing again.
He has 2 years left, this year and next year.
That's worth 2 firsts all day.
Or no. 25 and 26 left on his thing. Yeah, 2 draft picks. We'll take the rest of that money. We'll massage that. We'll extend it if we have to. I just don't think the Raiders would do it. He's the face of the franchise. That you and I don't agree a lot. It would be smart for the Raiders to say, you know what? Let's just blow this up, start over. Because Max Crosby in 2 years is going to want 30 million a year. And your team's probably not going to be where it needs to be competitive at that point anyways. So you probably should get younger, get those draft picks, rebuild, which sucks because, again, he's been a great player for them. He's the face of that franchise. But and that's why I just don't think Mark Davis will do it. But he should, or at least should consider it.
Well, there's new ownership there in Vegas that might be able to kind of coax him into building for the future rather than staying in the now. So we'll see. But if I'm Detroit, I'm on that phone every day.
I'm like
multiple times a day.
2 firsts. Let's go. I'll give you 2 firsts, and I'll give you a 2026 second. Okay. Let's make it happen.
That'd be nice. Be nice.
That's one trade that absolutely should happen, but when it should happen, it usually doesn't.
This is true.
Oh, all right. Games this last weekend. Let's stay with the Lions. When you are throwing every trick play you have to linemen, is that not utterly disrespectful?
No, it's not. It's not disrespectful, and I'm tired of hearing this nonsense. These are grown men getting paid to play.
I love it.
You don't like it, do something about it. And if you can't do something about it, then keep your mouth shut. Jerry Jones.
That's why they scored 9 points and only field goals.
We familiar with his radio conversation this morning, everyone?
Dude,
Because
I did.
Not.
Oh, you got to listen to it, Cody. He's straight up like about to fire the dude asking him questions.
Jerry literally told the radio guys he can find somebody else to do their job.
Okay.
On live radio. And that's nicely saying it. When you listen to it, it gets even worse.
It's so nasty, dude.
Jerry has finally gone off his rocker, and he made it very public this morning. And I posted 2 days ago? Maybe it was yesterday. Steven needs to get a POA. And they need to get Jerry out of any type of decision-making whatsoever within that organization. He wants to continue on the weekly radio show and say some nonsense. Fine. At least you know he's not doing what he's saying anymore. Because right now, he is literally running the franchise into the ground. And that's wild to think about.
What's the one thing he could do at this moment to make everything not as bad? It's all bad. But what could he do at this moment to make it not all that bad?
Step back.
Trade for Travis Etienne?
We won't do that, but
But
he should, yeah. Look, I just think instead of him tiptoeing around everything, he should come out and take accountability. I messed up. We should have given Derrick Henry a call. I messed up.
Did you hear the radio conversation this morning?
Oh, yeah. He wanted to take no accountability.
You're not going to talk about all the things I've done wrong without saying all the things I've done right. What? Pinky, there's not going to be accountability.
I know. But I think when you talk about, and sports fans are emotional, and a lot of times sports fans could be right. They a lot of times are not. They don't know what the team is thinking or doing or what's going on behind the scenes. But the truth will set you free. When you tell the people the truth and you acknowledge what has gone wrong, it doesn't make it any better. But then they go, hey, at least he said the truth.
Oh, I don't think that's Jerry's truth, though, bud. I think that's the problem.
It is the truth. It's just not what Jerry believes.
Well, what is it? There's your truth, my truth, and the actual truth. Jerry thinks his truth is the actual truth, and that's never going to change. And it's been that way since he bought the team, which is why Jimmy Johnson was fired. Like, I mean, Mike McCarthy, we said this in our group chat. I literally put in the group chat, McCarthy's been with Dallas for 5 years.
Yep.
I knew it, but I didn't know it. And it was like a giant bomb going off in my head. Like, oh no, this is the same Cowboys. They're never going to change.
He's won 12 games a season for the last 3 years.
Sure has. Yep.
But obviously, losing Dan Quinn has been worse than they thought.
Yeah, that has not been good. Now, to their defense, they are missing their 2 best defensive players who are all pros in Dexter Lawrence. That doesn't sound right.
Yeah, no, DeMarcus Lawrence.
DeMarcus Lawrence, thank you. DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons. You miss those 2 guys, and that changes the way your defense plays. It just does. So there is some things there that are out of their control. But at the same time, everybody said, hey, you're an injury away from being screwed. You're super thin. You have 0 depth. You also have no linebackers. And they said, no, we're good. We have everything we need in-house. That has been proven wrong very quickly. Here's the other wild take Jerry said, and this wasn't part of the radio conversation. This was after the loss. They're saving Zeke for later in the year. They don't want to wear him down right now. They need his legs for when they're in the playoff run. What? What?
You got to make it there first.
The props to Jerry. He is the ultimate PR spin man. Well done, sir. You can BS with the best of them. And as someone who has a degree in it and spent a lot of money to get it, I am well versed in it. So I recognize it and hear it very quickly. At some point in time, you're going to have to pay the piper. And the way this season's going, that piper is going to be a whole lot more expensive come the end of this year.
Yep.
Yeah, we can't even say they're like in the past, they would just obliterate every division opponent. Just obliterate them. I don't think we can't say that this year. Commanders look like a way better team.
Playoffs. At this point in time, right now, if you're telling me who's in the playoffs, I'm telling you Dallas is not.
Let's switch over real quick to the Lions. I am a pretty big Lions fan. I'm on the Lions bandwagon. But our biggest Lions fan in the group, Robert, how'd you feel about that ass whooping?
It was so glorious. It was so glorious that at the attendance tweet from the Dallas Cowboys, they blurred out the fucking score.
On their own Jumbotron. On their own Jumbotron in the stadium, they blurred out the score of the game.
Amazing. That was an ass whooping that was just
Did you guys see? I don't know how much time you guys spend on Twitter. Twitter's kind of like when I want to go and just see sports stuff, I just go to Twitter and like I've got tons of accounts we're following that post sports stuff. And there was a video of some poor Cowboys fan just puking her guts out.
Oh yeah, dude.
And there's a Lions fan just jumping around her.
Yeah.
He's grittying around her. He literally comes out of nowhere, out of picture of whoever's recording this, and he just gritties right around her, puking in the concourse, and just gritties off. Doesn't say a word.
Love it.
So I'm going to tell you guys, one of my top 5 moments of sports of where I've actually been at an event was in the Cowboys Stadium.
The Broncos game, yeah.
Where the Broncos, it was an orange, man. We had orange everywhere. And Dak was just coming back from injury, maybe came back too quick. He threw a lot of incompletions. And I tell you, boys, that incomplete chant was strong and proud. And it was amazing.
Pinky, I'm glad you brought that up because that was the final point I was going to give on this game. I need Lions fans to take this win with a grain of salt because the Cowboys are notorious for doing this at least once a year. And as Pinky mentioned, the Broncos did it to them a couple years back, which should have never even been in the realm of possibility.
Not even close.
So Dallas is known to do this at least once a year. So if you're a Dallas fan, there is reason to still have a little bit of hope, if you will. But as a Detroit fan, I think you should take this with a grain of salt. Like, Dallas isn't that bad. You're not necessarily that good in regards to you smoking a team like that. There's a median in there where you can kind of come to a better understanding.
We all know the snowball effect happens. Once you start pouring it on, sometimes things just don't go the right way for the other team. I will say, though, this is an epic part of Cowboys history where their last 4 home games, they've been outscored by more than any team in history at home in their last 4 home games.
Wasn't this the worst home loss ever?
I don't know if it's ever, but it's probably at least up there. If it's not number 1, it's damn close.
It was ugly. No. Let's move to the next game I would like to discuss, mostly because of the news that's breaking today about some possibilities, and that would be the Steelers getting another win behind Justin Fields. And Pinky, I'm going to say something that I think will brighten your mood a little bit here.
Oh, God.
I got a chance to watch that game a little bit more in depth than I've had the opportunity to start this year. And we know I'm a Justin Fields truther. I did see some things from Fields this weekend that I don't want to say I was concerned, but they caused me pause. And they were what I expected to see better from him, rolling out of the pocket on the move. And he threw a couple balls to some guys that were open, and he sailed them. Now, the reason it's not concern, it's more just pause, is because happy feet is something that can be easily corrected within the NFL. With the right coaching, you need an offensive line, but it's not a big of an issue as a guy who just can't read a defense or play. I did see him stand in the pocket tall multiple times and go through progressions. But that offensive line is not giving him time to do that on a regular basis. I bring all this up to say I have been on record saying he's not playing outstanding ball, but he's playing consistent ball and he's not turning it over. Why in the hell would Pittsburgh come out today with Mike Tomlin and say Russ is in consideration to get the start this weekend? Can somebody make it make sense to me?
I only have one thought on that. And again, I don't agree with you much. We definitely don't agree on Justin Fields. But when you're 4-2 and you're coming off a blowout win of the Raiders, which Raiders turned the ball over quite a bit. So again, the Steelers defense did a lot of the heavy lifting. But he didn't lose you the game. You won. You won by 20 points. I'm not probably pulling that guy.
And part of the reason you won was 2 of his rushing touchdowns.
Right.
That he was able to get outside of the pocket from terrible protection and still make a play. What does Russ bring to the table? It's not like they have weapons to throw to that Fields isn't getting the ball to, right?
So I agree with you. I haven't seen anything from him that says we should pull this guy and that Wilson gives you a better chance. I've seen things that I don't think he's a long-term option. I just think he is what he is, and he's never going to be that guy that's going to be able to go toe-to-toe with Mahomes and Allen and Lamar and that on a consistent basis. I just don't. You're going to need his best game every time. You can't, there's just going to be a lot of deficiencies from his game. Now, this is not right, but the only thing I can think of is they are a couple weeks away from their stretch of their schedule that is brutal for them. Now, I think it's not as bad as it looked at the beginning because they got the Browns a couple times, and the Browns aren't the same team that we thought they were going to be. But when we originally look at that, week 10 and on, that week 10 and on schedule is pretty bad and brutal. If you get Russell in there, get him a couple games under his belt, can he play some of the same ways that Justin can? Maybe get him ready for that stretch run. I think they're afraid of Justin during that stretch run against those tougher teams. That's the only thing I can think of, because he has not played himself into benching.
I will say this, and I will go on record. If Russell Wilson starts, it is the end of the season for the Steelers, and it is the beginning of the end for Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh.
They just extended him. I don't know if I'm not going that far.
I'm telling you what I'm seeing. What I believe will happen if Russell Wilson comes in with the lack of talent at the skill positions and a bad offensive line. That's just what I believe will be. It will be the beginning of the end. It will be the demise of what I thought was one of, if not the best coach in the NFL. And I've been a big Mike Tomlin dude for a long time. And I think this would be his ultimate mistake and downfall. Why he is so enamored with Russ is beyond me.
Cody, what are your thoughts?
I mean, you're winning games with Justin Fields. You got to keep the guy in. You know, if he's winning you games, there's no reason to make the change. But I mean, you do have a decent wide receiver in George Pickens. That if Russ is throwing the ball, that's more targets going to George Pickens, Pat Freiermuth. Those are your two best guys, in my opinion. So I mean, personally, if I was the coach, I'd be rolling with Fields. He gives you more of that dual threat ability, and there was no reason to make this move.
Now, it's not been official yet, though.
No, and I want to make that clear. That's why I said if he does. The only reason I would play Russ is if Fields gets hurt, if he's banged up for some reason and he can't be his normal mobile self.
Mm-hmm.
If that happens and he has to be a pocket quarterback for a game, I'm okay with seeing Russ come in that situation, because Fields does need still development within just the pure pocket sense of the QB. I mean, I've never denied that. I think he can get there given the opportunity, the right coaching, and I've always said that. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend or try to lie to you and talk up some jazz about how I think he can stand in the pocket and throw at the best of them. That's not his game. That's not what he can do right now. So if there's an injury to him where he can't do 100% mobile, I could see Russ coming in. But beyond that, it just nothing about it makes sense to me. Why would you even put this news out there? That's the other crazy part.
Right.
Why would this news even become public?
I think it's just see a reaction, personally.
It's odd because it's not a normal Mike Tomlin thing.
I mean,
he normally
I
tries
don't
to stay
think Mike
out of the
Tomlin's
media,
calling
out of the
shots
spotlight.
right now. I don't think he's calling the shots.
Yeah, he is.
Not in this case. Not
Yeah,
in
he
this
is.
case. No way.
Absolutely. Mike Tomlin's been calling the shots there in Pittsburgh for a long time.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
so
there's
out
no
of
way this is
character.
anybody but Mike Tomlin's decision.
It's so out of character.
It is. I agree with you, Robert. I think
That's
it is.
why.
It
That's
feels
why
like
I don't believe it's him. I don't. You're also paying Russell Wilson a fuck ton of money.
No, they're not.
No,
They're
they're
paying
not.
him like $1 million.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. No, they're all not because we're paying him.
I just
Actually,
looked
the
at
Broncos
that.
are still paying him.
I just looked at that. They're paying him $1.21 million, and the
you're paying him
Denver Broncos
nothing.
are paying the rest.
And you got Justin Fields for a 6th round pick. One has the ability to potentially become a franchise quarterback. The other does not. And the one that is potentially the franchise quarterback is the one that you've been winning games with. It's wild. It's not a normal story you would hear coming out of Pittsburgh. A drama type story is not something that normally comes out of Pittsburgh unless it's AB after the initial report.
It's not a normal story for any franchise because, especially coming off of a win, you don't see a guy get benched. Like,
That's also true.
Wild.
Tom Brady didn't get benched when Drew Bledsoe got healthy.
Right.
Drew, you're the second guy. Tom's leading us to win, so we're going to keep rolling with him. I still think that leash was probably pretty short. You know, I think you can still roll with Fields and keep him on a short leash of saying, okay, you know, Russ is healthy. Now we're ready. He's had some time. So,
and let's be honest. Let's be honest. Right now, Justin Fields has thrown for over 1,000 yards. He's completing 65% of his passes. He's got 10 total touchdowns to 1 interception. So again, and this is no different than what happened the last 6-7 weeks of his time with the Bears last year. The numbers say he is playing good ball. The eye test said he was playing better ball. But there's this narrative around him that he can't play quarterback in the league. And I don't want to be a dead horse, Pinky. I'm not trying to say he's a superstar, but he is, as you just said, he is playing solid, consistent football. And in the NFL, you can't ask for much more from your quarterback.
He's the best option that they have in Pittsburgh right now.
This guy over here, same guy who didn't want to give Lamar Jackson any praise, and now he's over here talking about him as one of the best QBs in the league. So give it time, ladies and gentlemen. Just stick with us a couple more years, and one of us is going to be right.
I've said Lamar's good. I've just never seen a running quarterback win a Super Bowl, and to this point, I still haven't seen one. So,
you still going to call Lamar a running quarterback after his last 3 weeks?
How many yards has he rushed for? I feel like it's still been a pretty good amount.
Does it matter if he's throwing for over 300?
I mean, he played the Commanders. I mean, that defense gives up points. I mean, he was very efficient. 20 for 26. He was very efficient. He's still
I don't think a running quarterback does that. I'm just saying. I don't think that's a running quarterback thing.
And we both agreed since Monken has got there, he has improved as a passer.
Different offense. I don't think he's improved. I think he's just showing you what he's always been capable of. I've been on that stance for a long time.
He's also had a lot of these really pretty good games passing and then gets to the playoffs and shits the bed. So, like, you know.
Is that him? Is it the team? A lot of injuries, things of that nature. There's a combination of many factors. I don't disagree there.
Talking about the Ravens and the Commanders, this is maybe one of the more anticipated games of the weekend.
Good game, too.
Young Lamar versus mature Lamar at this point. They were fighting that narrative all week. Jaden was like, no, man, I'm just me.
People wanted to talk about Jaden as the better passer. Jaden can throw the ball better.
Yep.
I mean, I've seen Jaden throw the ball really well.
I'm not saying he's not a better pure passer, but these people acting like Lamar can't sling the rock. I've been saying since his Louisville days he can. Give him the opportunity and put some weapons around him. They've done that, and he's showing you that he can. Is Jaden still a better pure passer? Hell yeah, Jaden's dropping dimes that Lamar can't do. I'm not going to discredit that. But Lamar's a better runner than Jaden Daniels ever will be. And Jaden Daniels is no slouch running the ball. Jaden Daniels, I think, will always be a slightly better passer than Lamar will be.
It's definitely not the same. Jaden Daniels has got some speed when he gets there, but Lamar does some things running the ball that, like, at this point in his career, I don't want to see him running the ball that much unless he really has to.
Absolutely.
But he can do some things. It was a great game. It was a fun game.
Who's the best team in the NFL right now?
The best team in the NFL? It's the Lions.
I think it's Baltimore.
No.
That defense is giving up a lot, bro.
Detroit has two.
The Ravens defense is the worst team against the pass in the league.
I know. And they've got some injuries. Can they get healthy? We'll see. But I think they're one and the same. Both defenses are not great. It's the offenses that have to carry them. And what Baltimore's doing with that run game finally with Derrick Henry, and then you have Lamar Jackson as your quarterback, I would be hard-pressed to bet against Baltimore going forward.
But I'm worried about Derrick Henry's usage because, again...
Why?
Look.
That's his normal usage.
Man, we've seen it before. He went for 1,000 yards in like 7 games, and then someone got his ankle and he was out for like most of the season after that. Like, those things happen, man.
That's his only, last year was literally his only basic injury.
No, this was like 4 years ago. He was literally on pace for 2K again after he hit 2K, and then he got hurt. And he was out for like 6 or 7 games. And then he came back, and we still doing some good stuff when he came back. But, again, he is the way that they're running the football. And, again, you're playing this game. We've got to get a really good record. We want to see the Chiefs come to our house again. We've got to run Derrick Henry to make that happen. But if they run him too much, and, again, nicks, bruises, or gets that injury, they're toast. If Derrick Henry is not there running the ball, they're toast.
Maybe. But Derrick Henry is the only back in the league that I'm not worried about usage and injury. Legitimately, the only
Maybe
back
not
in the
usage.
league I'm
more worried probably about just that freak injury happening versus usage. The guy's he's not human.
Right. You want to talk
human.
about freak injury and they're thin at the position if he goes down, then we have a conversation. Usage doesn't worry me with him in the slightest.
And I think that injury you were talking about, Pinky, was a Lisfranc injury.
That's the one I'm thinking of.
That was the one.
But he's had a couple here and there that have kept him out of a stretch. He's not really lost a season, I don't think, like a full season.
Nope.
But he's had a couple that kind of just take him out for a couple games, and I don't know if they can afford that. He has been the main cog of this offense. Robert, I know me and you were at the Broncos game, so we didn't really get to see these games per se. We had to kind of see highlights and things. What did you think of that Ravens Commanders game?
I mean, Lamar's still throwing it down. I'm still impressed with what the Commanders are doing. They're a really young team, basically brand new all around. I forget where they are on the youngest team scale, but I'm pretty sure they're up there. And overall, Jane Daniels has been balling out. So I love to see him week to week. It's been very entertaining to watch. And then, again, I've been a big Lamar fan. I thought they were going to go last year to the Super Bowl, and then they just forgot to run the football in the playoffs. Whatever. Like, fuck. But I still hope that Lamar gets to the show. I really am hoping that they figure out some other dynamics than Henry. I mean, yes, rely on him, but you really got to start opening up your game a little bit more. You're going to get shut down. You're going to get burnt out running the same guy. And again, if you run into an injury situation, you're screwed. So
Commanders are the 8th oldest team.
The 8th oldest, really? I thought they were pretty brand new overall.
No, they're the 8th oldest team.
Part of the reason they're able to be doing what they're doing, they just needed some competent coaching.
Can anybody name the youngest team?
Give me a second. Let me think about this.
The 3rd is the Broncos.
The 3rd is the Broncos.
Where are the Rams and the Patriots on this list?
So Rams are 2nd youngest. Okay. Patriots are 21st.
Ooh, a lot more veterans there than I thought. Okay.
So I mean, well, they're like 9th youngest. It's.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, they're in the top 10 youngest.
Yeah, top 10 youngest.
Who's the youngest team in the league?
You know this because we love their quarterback.
Is it the Vikings?
We love this quarterback.
Okay, the Green Bay. I should have known it was Green Bay. I talked about that at the beginning of the season with all the crazy young talent they had, which is scary for the rest of the league. If you're being honest and you're looking forward, the fact that Green Bay is the youngest team in the league and doing what they're doing right now is crazy. Let's move there. Pinky. Jordan Love is still a little erratic at times, and he gets away with a lot. I am under the impression, and I kind of always have been in those situations, that when you get away with those kinds of things as consistently as he does, you can call it luck, you can call it skill, you can call it whatever you want, but it's an intangible that player has for whatever reason. Whether it's just guys dropping interceptions and letting him off the hook, or a fumble that his team recovers, or whatever it is, there is an innate ability for him to play reckless at times and it not cost his team.
I'm not going there yet, just because I don't know if there's any, we don't really know what the take is yet on him, because he's played so little football overall. He didn't play a lot in college.
To say the dude's really good.
I wouldn't disagree with you. I'm just saying, like, turnover prone or putting balls into play that could be intercepted. There's a stat for that that they have.
I see what you're saying. You don't know if he's a turnover prone or a Brett Favre gunslinger type.
And you're also talking about, like, with as young as the offense is, the wide receivers are mostly first or second year wide receivers, so they could be running the wrong route. He could be,
I see where you're going.
He could be expecting them to be at 12 yards, but they're at 10. Like, they still got to iron those like small things out to be completely on the same page, right?
I'm just looking at the times. There's 2 or 3 times a game, and I'm a big love guy. But there are 2 or 3 times a game where he just kind of chucks the ball up there and prays. And for whatever reason, since he became the starter, those 2 or 3 times have not cost them in big games or big moments.
Yet.
That's where I was going. Yet. Now, Mahomes is known to do the same thing. Josh Allen, known to do the same thing. It has not cost their teams. Is Love going to be in that same tier, if you will, in that respect? I believe he is. But I will agree with you, Pinky. Cheers. I could see where that is still yet to be proven.
I know the Cardinals kind of started out with some good vibes to start the season. That shine is starting to come off real quick.
It's what we said. Like, they're going to be a competitive team, but they're just lacking the quality at the positions needed to make a true difference. And if we're being honest, at this point in the season, regardless of the situation, Marvin Harrison's been a bust. Long term, do I think that will be the case? No. But whether it's scheme or everybody knowing that he's the only wide receiver that they have to worry about, and they're just double and tripling him, whatever it is, there's multiple factors why, but he's just not showing up the way they need him to.
He got hurt early in this game.
Sure.
But in other games, that narrative is definitely played out.
So that's a problem. Trey McBride is a beast, one of the top tight ends in the league. I still believe in Kyler Murray, but it is funny that the first kind of not great game he has just so happens to be the game right after he gets his Call of Duty deal. And, the Madden curse, people wanted to poo-poo on it, but it was real. Say what you want. There was some truth to it. Guys didn't, for whatever reason, perform as well when they got on the cover. There is some truth to Kyler Murray and the release of Call of Duty beginning in November-ish time frame where his game kind of drops off. So Cardinals need to figure some things out. They need to get back to running the ball more. The last couple of weeks, they have decided not to rely on James Conner in that run game as much. I think Trey Benson needs to become more a part of that run game. They need to spell Conner a little bit, and they need to be a 60-40 run-pass offense going forward. And I don't think they'll do it, but I think that's what they need to be doing.
Cody, what are your thoughts on that whole Cardinals situation?
I mean, I agree with Caleb. They need to kind of embrace that RPO game. You have one of the best scrambling quarterbacks in the league, and you do have, Trey McBride, who is one of the best tight ends. Use that RPO game, put in Benson, use that RPO game with Connor. That offense could be great. They do have, you did say Marvin Harrison Jr. is, he's been a bust so far, but you do have Michael Wilson. He's not bad. You do have, and then you do have Zay Jones coming off suspension. It's another weapon they can use. Like, that offense could be something.
And Dortch. I mean, Dortch is your kind of your
number
your
2.
Yeah. So yeah.
I mean, but that Call of Duty curse is becoming a real thing. Like you said.
It'll be interesting to see how they play out. But again, they need more talent. They're going to have to go out and play the free agency market and hope they hit their draft picks this year to get back into a place where they can be truly competitive for a playoff run.
Absolutely.
I mean, they've got their moments, but yeah, they're a little ways away. Texans laid the whooping on the Patriots pretty good.
I mean, do we expect anything less?
Drake May with his first start. So
looked solid.
He looked pretty good. Three touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He did lose a fumble, but that's called a rookie game. Like your first start, you're gonna struggle, regardless. It's the NFL, So but
I will say I didn't hear any mention of him. Like Good Morning Football, Monday morning, they didn't talk about Drake May at all. And I would say, at least that's a good start. Right? You're playing a really good team. You've got nothing around you at all. I think he did okay. He did okay for that first start.
There's reason to be hopeful in New England as far as your quarterback situation goes. I think Kraft coming out, today, an article was released where he said basically, looking back on it, he made a mistake in giving Bill too much power. I mean, duh, we all knew that. But, in the moment, you're winning, the things are going all well. I could see where the owner would start ceding some of those responsibilities more and more, and it would become that situation. He understands what he did now. The problem is he made a giant mistake. Jared Mayo may be a great head coach. He should have been a great head coach somewhere other than New England. Because, in my opinion, he's trying to do too much of the Patriot way still. And I've heard some reports that guys love him. He's much more personable during practice and things of that nature. But there's still that carryover. And I think you needed to cut ties completely and start fresh and try to bring in a new kind of thought process. And I don't think they did that. So it'll be interesting to see what Mayo gets to do over the next. I think Kraft's a fairly loyal guy and knows they're not good. So I think Mayo gets 2 to 3 years. It'll be interesting to see what they can do as an organization in the next 2 to 3 years.
Now, on the other hand, Texans are balling.
Yeah, Joe Mixon came back from injury and just didn't miss a beat. Like that, but Joe Mixon in that run with that run game, that opens up the Texans offense big time.
Yeah, and the fact that Tank Dell was non-existent to start the year, and then Nico goes down and then put on IR, so he's going to be out at least 4 weeks. All of a sudden, Tank Dell comes back. It's like, sup, bitches? Remember me? And him and Diggs go off. Stroud is so good. He's so good. That ball he threw and then just immediately turned to the sideline and just posed and looked at his boys. I mean, that's cold. And you only do that stuff if you're legit one of the best in the league, like supreme talent. You only do that stuff if you have that kind of confidence in your own game. And there's not many guys in the league that I would put or pick above Stroud at this point.
He's so smooth, man. If they had a rock solid O-line, I don't think their O-line's as good as it needs to be. Like, they'd be really hard to beat.
Yeah, I think that O-line is going to be what kind of nips us in the butt, And that defensive backfield, they're so young and they're still learning. And that's our other weakness is our defensive backfield. But that's just because we're young. We just got to keep learning, keep growing, and
Yeah, the talent's there. The raw talent is there. I agree with you. And I think they go O-line heavy in the next draft. That's really their only need at this point. Their skill positions are set. Now this next draft is going to be running back heavy. And insanely talented running back heavy. There's 2 dudes that are probably going to come out of Ohio State that could be first-round talent, along with Genty. So, if they wanted to maybe look at grabbing one of those dudes and pairing them with Mixon, with him getting up in age and, the cost of his contract right now, I would not be mad at them if they grab one of those 3 running backs and put that on the roster for next year and then looked later rounds for the O-line. But, I mean, really outside of that, they don't have a lot of holes. It's just like you said, youth and just that playing time and experience that will continue to build them up.
Yeah, buddy. Texans are in good shape. I'd love to see the Texans be able to host a couple playoff games. So,
Well, they're hosting at least one because there's no way they're not winning that division.
yeah, they're definitely going to win that division for sure. Titans with Will Levis, T-Law in Jacksonville, and
Doug Peterson's got to go. Doug Peterson has to go. You gotta just cut ties. You gotta move on. Right now, Trevor Lawrence and the offense looks like they're regressing under Doug Peterson. And the fact that ETN is getting phased out, I'm what the hell is going on in Jacksonville?
He doesn't fit that offense. Like he just doesn't. Like the bruiser Tank Bigsby right now does look better. And that might be because of the way that they're calling plays or the O-line that they have. Like ETN, when he gets the ball, I don't think it's lack of talent of ETN. I just don't think whatever scheme they're running is like fits him at this moment.
They're not. Yeah, I don't. They're the plays that ETN should be running. They're giving to Bigsby. And for anybody out there that says ETN can't run behind the tackles, go watch his college film. That's where the dude broke off a majority of his huge plays.
We don't have to do that. We have like 3 years of him playing really well for the Jags.
I'm just saying, you can go as far back as college that says the dude can run between the tackles. So why they're not giving their best talent the ball in the right situations, again, that's why I say Peterson has to go. There is wide receiver talent on that team. There is, by all accounts, a quarterback talent on that team. There is running back talent on that team. I think I would have no issues if you're running ETN and Bigsby. That could be a great two-headed monster. But it should be done a la what Seattle is doing with Walker and Charbonnet, not what Atlanta is doing with Bijan and Algier.
Yeah, those guys are dumb in Atlanta. Although Algier, whenever he comes in, man, he produces. So it's hard. I think Algier could definitely start for a team out there. Like,
yeah, he's good. I think Charbonnet could start for a team out there. When Walker's out, Charbonnet balls.
The way that the Falcons are rolling, I couldn't see this happening. But if I'm Dallas, I'm like, can I give you a second for Algier? Like, I feel like he'd help us a lot. Like,
and if I'm Falcons, I would say hell no, because that's our ticket to get to the Super Bowl.
Right.
But it should be a 70-30, at worst 60-40 split. And right now it's basically 50-50. And that makes no sense. Bijan is the better runner. Bijan is the better pass catcher. The only thing that maybe I could give to Algier right now is pass protection. But the only way Bijan would get better at that is by being in the game to do it. So, but they're winning. And Pitt's finally part of the offense. London is finally looking like the stud number one that they drafted. Kirk has dusted off all the rust, and he is playing exactly what they paid him for. Atlanta needs to get their defense together, and they could be a dangerous team in the NFC. But I will say, in the NFC South, we thought there could be a three-headed monster race there with New Orleans kind of coming out of the picture that we weren't expecting. The injuries that they've got right now, New Orleans done. New Orleans is out. Baker is the number one fantasy quarterback right now, which is I did not see that coming. Godwin, I believe, is the number 2 wide receiver in fantasy right now.
He's actually the number 1 wide receiver.
Is he 1 now? Okay.
He is the 1.
Yeah, Baker's 2, Godwin's 1.
That's what it is. Okay. Mike Evans is still there and can still ball, so don't discount that. They've got a couple young wide receivers that can fill in at the 3 between Palmer and McMillan. Their running game just got another boost with Vaughn not playing. All of a sudden, they've got another guy coming up. I'm drawing a
Sean Tucker.
Sean Tucker.
Thank you. Looks like he's a stud with Bucky Irving. Their offensive line is solid. Same problem the Falcons have, though. It's not the offense in Tampa. It's the defense that's pause for concern. If either one of those teams can get an offense where, their defense can get healthy and consistent, I think they instantly become the front runner for that division. But neither one looks like they can do that anytime soon. So we could see a really good race between those two for the NFC South. I think the other team probably sneaks in the wild card, the way those two teams are playing.
Yeah, I'm excited for when the Bucks and Falcons get together. That should be soon. So I'm excited for that. It's going to be a good match. Anything else from this weekend?
No, I want to say this. Broncos fans, there is reason for hope in the long term, not this season. Even if we make the playoffs, it's not going to be pretty. Let's be honest. Yes, the Broncos beat the Jets. Does anybody think the Broncos are a better team than the Jets? I don't think so. But they've got an opportunity to make a little bit of a run and sneak into the playoffs. The reason I say there's hope is because anybody that said Bo Nix was a reach and is still on that tip hasn't been paying attention to him play. This is where there's pause for concern, though. The first half versus second half dichotomy right now with the Broncos is gross. It is a night and day situation. First half is ugly, and that's being kind. The second half looks competent and even outstanding at times. The pause for concern is the head coach and the play caller. At this point in time, I do not understand why Sean Payton does not just grab the Oregon offense and implement it fully. There's zero reason not to. You have Bo Nix and his number one receiver from Oregon on your team, that being Troy Franklin, who's gotten minimal usage. Went and caught a touchdown this last weekend, but he only had like 3 catches, I think, for like 16 yards and a tud.
He did have the most snaps that he's had so far. So
he's starting to get more snaps, which is good. But what it looks like right now is Sean Payton trying to force a square peg in a round hole in the first half, like he's trying to teach through hard lessons. And in the second half, he goes, okay, now we're going to do the things that Bo's good at, and we're going to let him play a little bit.
So,
and that's it. That, to me, that is a serious issue.
I'm going to ask Robert a question here in a second, but what I want to say to the Sean Payton point, he's been doing something, and he didn't do it so much the last 2 weeks, that he brought it back this week. He keeps rotating like 2 to 3 dudes in every other play. And so Bo's not getting any like rhythm with the guys that are in, because before he knows it, there's another 3 guys coming in. And that's like every time they do that, they're getting to the line with like 10 seconds left for him to look at the defense and do all that. And like, keep it simple. We can get to that rotation once Bo knows this offense like the back of his hand. But he's not there yet. I think he's
second year stuff, not rookie year.
I think he's really doing really well for what Sean's been throwing at him, that I don't think people have given him any credit for, because I don't think he's thrown the 7th most passes in the league, but taking like the 3rd or 4th least sacks. Like, that's really good. And our O-line's not great. He's moving a lot to avoid those sacks.
Yes, he is.
So I'd like to see Sean just come in with a package, play the same guys for a series, and then like if you get to a point you need to rotate a few guys in, do that. But like, don't. He was doing it almost every other play, and I was commenting to Robert at the game.
He is so
like,
annoying.
Why are you doing that? Because again, you could see he'd rotate him in. It would take us longer to get to the line, and then like that whole play, like it just didn't look great.
Here's the other issue with that, Pinky. Sutton still shows flashes. Javonte has shown flashes. Why are you not trying to expand on those? Why are you not trying to take advantage of those moments? Nothing about the first half of games makes any sense. The second half, there's some optimism. But even the second half has some bumps in the road where it looks like he's trying to revert his play calling back to the first half scenarios. And Bo kind of bails him out. If I'm being perfectly honest, Bo is bailing Sean out of a lot of bad play calls right now. And I'm going to say it again. The more I see this, the more it looks like a coach who the game has passed him by. And he just doesn't get it. I don't know how else to read that situation.
Robert, this was your first game that you've gone to, regular season football game you've gone to. What were your takeaways?
Getting to see a lot of the lineups in person are a lot different, and kind of seeing the angle that where we were at really showed a lot of the strategy and things.
What angle did we have?
So
End
we
zone.
had the end zone angle, so we just had the perfect bird's eye view of the whole game. And seeing a lot of the lineups and things were quite interesting. And dude, our O-line is terrible. And
I love that that's where you
so
guys had tickets for his first game, Pinky, because in my personal opinion, been to a lot of games, I would always prefer to sit end zone. I love being able to see actual plays develop and actually get a sense of the
Absolutely.
spacing and the depth of things when they're going on. When you sit sideline, you don't get a true feeling of all that motion and the true space and the play development that you get when you sit in an end zone.
It's definitely a different thing, and that's I mean, I usually get the try to get the higher the better. I get half price tickets, and we're usually up there. But I like that bird's eye view. I can see pretty much everything going on. I can see the mismatches. I can see the guys running wide open. It's almost like watching coaches film. I wish I had better vision because I can't see everything all the time. But I feel like I get a pretty good amount that you don't normally get when you're a lot closer to the field. So, what else did you see, Robert?
Dude, Bo runs so much. It's so bad.
He had
It's
to,
like a
man.
track
He had
star,
to.
dude. It's awful. So I mean, I know we had a couple of like second string guys in, but like still, fuck. That dude needs some protection.
Now, to be fair, the Chargers defense under Harbaugh has been pretty good this year.
It's top.
Absolutely.
It was a top 5 going into the weekend.
Yes.
So,
and that's where I saw, I think I sent it in the chat, where like if you look at Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams, they faced 0 top 10 defenses. Bo has faced like 4 at this point out of 6 games. So
they also have weapons that Bo does not. Now, I will caveat that slightly to where I still think Sutton is a low-end legit number 1, and they're just not looking to get him the ball. You want to call him a high-end 2 or a middle-end 2? Fine.
I think he's a high-end 2 overall. Like, I don't think he's the guy that's always open. I don't think he's a guy that's like.
This is the thing about Sutton, though. Sutton isn't, and he's never been a guy who gets true, like, insane separation. He is a guy, though, that you can throw the ball up and he will come down with it. And he's proven that time and time again. So why there's not plays called specifically for that, Bo can throw the ball. One of the best things about him coming out of college was his accuracy. So why would you not put specific calls in there where it's like, just throw it in that direction and let's see what happens?
If you see Sutton running a dig route, it's like he's probably getting the ball. Like anytime the Broncos run that dig route, he's getting the ball. Cody, did you see the Broncos Sutton touchdown this week?
I did not.
You got to pull it up. It's the best catch of the year so far.
Okay.
It's the best.
One hand, back of the end zone, full control.
Like, it was so
catch.
good. The refs were like, no, incomplete. Like they were like, there was no way he caught that ball, and we were like, it looked like he caught it.
But that's what I mean. Like, and then you've got Troy Franklin, who, say what you want about the evaluation of him coming out of college and where he ranked within the wide receiver class. What he did with Knicks in that Oregon offense was extraordinary. So why are you not putting specific plays into the playbook that allows for some of those opportunities to be built in?
He's getting more work. He's absolutely getting more. All the rookies are getting more work. Like I feel like this is all a bunch of growing pains and
it's nasty, isn't it, Cody?
That was disgusting.
And
That
do you
was
see,
an
like,
insane catch.
if you watch it, Bo is releasing the ball before Sutton has even like gone up for the break. Like, it's perfect. And then he just goes up and gets it. Like, so Sutton does make a lot of those plays. Probably we could do some more of those back shoulders. Maybe we can get to that at some point this year. But I don't think he's a true number one overall, but I think he's on that second level. And I'm glad we at least have him right now. Because, everybody else is so young. They're learning. I don't know if Sean trusts everybody. Sometimes they don't run the right route. Not having Josh Reynolds this week actually showed up quite a bit that like he wasn't out there. So it is what it is. But kudos to the Chargers. They played tough.
J.K. Dobbins.
Dobbins was a tough tackle. He made it tough for the Broncos. I don't think the Broncos were awful against the run, but I think they were tired. Like, they were on that field almost all the first half. Like, there's only so much you can do at that point.
Look,
So.
Cody is well aware of the curse. Cody is familiar with the curse. Cody is also familiar with the fact how much I'm counting on Dobbins, Darnold, and Fields to break that curse. I need at least two of those three, man. Right now I'm looking okay. But Fields started to become a question mark. One of those other guys goes down, the curse is just going to stay alive and well. I want it to end this year.
We'll see. So far, so good, Caleb. But that Caleb curse is a real thing, you know. I try to avoid Caleb's guys at all costs.
Oh man! And anybody wondering?
That's a
my
fact.
fantasy teams are really good. So curse or not, I know what I'm doing. But damn that curse!
Oh man, they've already updated on Sleeper. Fields is updated to 0 points.
Dear Lord.
I'm excited. The guy I'm playing this week in the league that I was champ last year. I'm 11-1 this year. I'm rolling. I'm the top scorer. And the guy I'm playing this week has Fields. So,
hey, I mean, look, I'm not a dumb man. Okay. I like to think of myself as somewhat intelligent. I did trade Fields a couple weeks back for A.J. Brown to a QB needy team. So it's not like I'm an end-all be-all, my guys or die. I'm going to make moves to the best of my ability. Now, if somebody else gets got by my curse too, that's on them, okay? Like, I can't protect you from the information that's made public, right? Like, it is what it is.
This team's good, boys. It's good. Let's see. Anything else from this last week? I think that's a pretty good rundown.
That's good.
For the second time, no, we're good.
Okay. All right, week 7. We're already in week 7, guys.
Yep.
Flying by.
It goes so quick. Well, look.
Broncos Saints Thursday night.
Broncos Saints.
And the Saints are injured to all hell.
Yeah.
If the Broncos don't win, they were given a gift. If they don't win this game,
I'm contemplating the line's 2. Broncos are favored by 2. I think I'm going to go move it to 10. Like, they should win this by 10.
Don't do it.
I don't know what
do that.
I don't know what Spencer Rattler's going to do. He's got 2 O-linemen out. All of his wide receivers are out. I can't see.
Which, if the NFL has taught us anything, it means the Saints are going to blow out the Broncos by like 30, right? Like,
no, that's not happening.
Don't start throwing out things that are going to put bad juju in the air, Pinky.
Well, what did you think of my parlay I put out there today?
I didn't get a chance to look at that yet.
All right, you want me to, Cody? You want to hear my parlay?
Yeah, go for it.
So I've got Broncos to win by 2 because they're favored by 2. So I took the Broncos. I've got Bo Nix to run for 25 yards. Oh, wait, no, I removed that. Never mind. I removed that.
Oh, you should have kept that.
I have Bo Nix, 175 yards passing.
Okay. Yeah.
1 Bo Nix passing touchdown.
Okay.
Devon Vele, 25 yards receiving. The 2 games he's played, he's had 37 and 7.
I know. I don't hate that. The reason I paused there is because Troy Franklin is getting more touches.
He's starting to get more touches. I agree. I think he can do 25 yards.
Okay.
And then Audric Estime, touchdown.
Ooh.
20 bucks on it. Pays $13.50. And
I don't hate that one, Pinky. I don't hate that one at all.
Sean Payton mentioned Audric Estime after the game.
I know.
And he mentioned him today that he needs to get him more carries and touches.
Well, I need him to start blowing off so I can trade him to you for a haul.
I think we've learned. I'm kind of not quite the wheeler and dealer that you want me to be.
No, but you'll move some stuff. You'll move some stuff for a good Broncos player.
We'll see. But yeah, that was my
Cody's wheels are already turning. I can see it right now. He's already thinking like I am.
He already got me today. I felt bad. I was like, yeah, I'll give you a QB for two second rounders.
Well, after I saw that, I went and looked at Pinky's team, and I was confused on how the hell he ended up with all those QBs. What the?
Yeah, I was like, who has a lot of QBs? Oh, my boy Pinky does.
I thought I was doing good. I'm trying to figure out why that dude went and traded me Fields and AJ Brown when he could have gotten Love from you.
Yeah, I had that one guy that wanted Love, and then he gave me like the worst trade offer I've ever seen. And then he tried to like argue with me that it was a good, fair trade, and I was like, "Nah, man, no, that was garbage." So,
Pinky, let's get a couple highlights going into this next week. Start with the Vikings.
Well, I mean that Vikings-Lions game.
Vikings-Lions. Jared Goff.
That's the game to watch.
That game. That's the early game too. So I'm super excited about that.
Let's call it right now. Who do you have?
Lions.
I have the Vikings, and it is solely because they have a top 3 defense right now, and they have a full offensive arsenal now. Addison's back. Jay Jetta's going. They're going to have a run game.
Aaron Jones might still be down, though.
Aaron Jones is week to week.
I think Akers can come in, plug and play, and be just fine.
And Ty Chandler he's an explosive runner. So, I mean,
I don't know if I'd say explosive, but he's a steady Betty for sure.
What's the Lions?
What's the line?
It's 2.5 Vikings. Vikings are at home.
And
they get
what's the Lions' biggest weakness? Now there's going to be a couple, but what was their biggest weakness going before last week started? Their secondary. Darnold looks like he has a great connection with Jay Jetta and Addison already. That along with Minnesota's defense, I'm not saying Detroit can't score, but the Vikings defense is good enough to limit the big plays in my mind.
Here's what's got to happen. Because all the teams that have played the Vikings have turned the ball over, and the Vikings have feasted on it.
They have.
The Lions cannot turn the ball over. They have to do what they do, run the football, get passes, get Laporta, get Amon-Ra. Jameson Williams is having a great year. They just got to get those guys involved. I wouldn't even put money on this game, guys.
No.
Like I think I would just do a parlay of players and leave it at that. Like, like I don't think I would touch this game at all.
And you might possibly have TJ Hawkinson coming back. At least he's starting to practice.
That was going to be the last comment I said, Cody, and that's where, to me, just even if he doesn't play, just the idea that a player like that is coming back and what that does for a locker room, that just makes everybody feel better. You know what I mean? It's not like you just lost Aiden Hutchinson. Those things do matter, and they are bigger deals than I think people want to give credence to at times. So, no pass rush for Detroit this week. Darnold playing good ball and those 2 wide receivers. That's why Minnesota at home would be the final factor. If this was in Detroit, I don't know if I'd feel the same way. But I can easily see Minnesota winning by a field goal, and that's kind of what I'm thinking will happen.
Robert?
I just think the Lions are hot to trot right now, coming off the bye week and coming off that win. I feel like they're just going to be dominating, even without Hutch. I still think they're going to bring the heat.
So, Robert, normally I would agree with you, but one thing that we've seen, and I think this, Cody, Caleb, back me up or call me an idiot. In all sports, I feel like whenever you have like those blowout victories, and I think they were gunning to embarrass the Cowboys.
Oh, absolutely.
Like that next week is kind of a letdown. Like you gave out all that emotion, you gave out all that effort, and then you just kind of have
Georgia, Bama, Vandy. I'm saying you're right, spot on with that, Pinky. It's a
wrong.
fairly common situation in sports, and it's hard to. That week after a big win is usually the hardest week to go back and win again.
And I think the toughest thing for them will be figuring out how do we – you can't replace Hutch, but how do we get anything pressure-wise without him? That's going to be the problem. And if Sam – in that offense, if Sam Darnold's given time to throw, he's going to light you up. It's happening. He's got Jefferson and Addison, who you could also argue are one of the top two combos in the league as well. So, super interesting game. Now, if the Lions' run game keeps doing what it's doing, it might be a different story. We're gonna have it. It's the most interesting game of the week for sure. There's a couple
Cody,
more.
What you got?
Flip a coin. Flip a coin and whatever lands, it lands. But like Pinky said, that Lions run game is really, really good. And they can get that run game going. I think the Lions can pull an upset.
Do you guys hear what Montgomery said? He likes the new nickname that a couple people had thrown at him, and he thinks he's going to run with it. Sonic and Knuckles.
So, yep.
Oh, I love it.
I
Love it.
Sonic's my game, man. I love Sonic.
Yeah, dude. I like that. He's Knuckles. You got Gibbs as Sonic. I mean, that's the best two-headed monster in the game right now in the running back room. So, and Goff's playing great. They have the weapons on the outside. They have Laporta at the tight end. By no means do I think Minnesota's defense is going to be able to slow them down, but I think they're going to be able to keep it in check enough drives to allow their offense to pull it out in the end. And this could easily be who's got the ball last, right? So, yeah.
So
I mean, the 2-point line is exactly where it should be.
There's quite a few turds this week, so we'll skip all those
until we talk next week, right, Robert?
Right.
I wasn't going to say anything, Caleb. I was just going to leave it alone.
I got you, baby.
I was just going to leave it alone.
We know I'm the bear poker. I got you.
We do a rundown of what happened, right? And then we run out of time, and then we got to just kind of talk about the games we
don't
feel
run
really
out of time.
You're right.
There's no point to talk about every freaking game.
That's what we do.
Just did.
We review the last week, and then we give you a little preview of what we think is going to come.
Fleeting moment. I'm like, man, we might get the show under 2 hours tonight. No. No,
never happened.
When we make it big, we're probably
Ravens and Buccaneers.
Don't worry about it.
Ravens and Buccaneers.
Bucks.
Ravens rolling away with it.
I'm taking the Ravens. That Bucks defense is like Caleb
true.
said.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah,
that Bucks defense is a little leaky.
I'm going to take the Bucks.
Ravens big. Ravens 10+.
That's a hot take. You heard it here, folks.
What's the line?
It's 3.5 Ravens.
I'd take that.
But I like the Bucks. The Ravens defense can't stop anybody from passing the ball. And this is one of the best passing offenses in the league. The Ravens aren't great at getting pressure right now either.
I have another question. What's the spread on that game?
It's 3.5.
The whole point spread altogether?
Oh, the over-under? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, what's over-under? Sorry.
48.5.
Oh, hit the high on that. Yeah, take the over on that for sure. Yeah, good call, Cody.
Definitely smash it. I like the Bucks in that game, and there's just something about it. They're at home too. It's a Monday night. I like the Bucks.
Ravens big, ladies and gentlemen. Go get your money.
Well, if that's what you
If I say it and don't bet, it hits like 99% of the time.
Well, you
and
never.
I'm not betting. I'm not betting. So everybody feel confident.
We've got Texans and Packers.
Packers.
Where's it at?
It's in Green Bay.
It's at Green Bay.
Packers.
I'll take the Packers. But like Cody said, a little bit of a coin flip there.
Yeah, I mean that Packers offense, that Packers team is a really good team. And as a Texans fan, I'm a realist, and I mean, I hope we pull out the win, but I am not optimistic.
Do you know what's the worst thing about this game?
It's an 11 o'clock kick.
It's on at the same time as the Lions and the Vikings.
Thank God for Red Zone. Because
Um,
both of those games are going to be all over the Red Zone.
Seahawks Falcons, I think, is an interesting game,
That should be a good game too.
and both teams 3-3, 4-2. That's a big game for those two.
You know, I mentioned it earlier that the running back situations are fairly similar. One just has a better understanding of the split that they should be using. But when you really, from a high level, like bird's eye view kind of thing, if you look down on those two teams and you didn't have their logos next to them, I think you'd be hard pressed to say which one's which. They're so similar in so many ways that I think it becomes a very, very interesting matchup. I mean, DK London, right? You could argue that Mooney and Jackson Smith and Jigba are almost identical. The running backs, two-headed monsters. Defense, a lot of young talent, but hasn't necessarily lived up to the billing. That's going to be a really interesting game. It could honestly come down to a Geno Kurt mistake.
Right.
Who makes the bigger mistake at the wrong time?
That's also in the 11 o'clock window as well.
A lot of early games that are going to be good.
Yeah.
The game of the week on Fox with Mr. Brady is Chiefs 49ers.
Ooh.
I really hope the 49ers show up and win.
So here's what's really interesting about that game from my perspective. Travis Kelce is definitely starting to come on now. Kittle is balling out right now.
Kelsey's coming on out of necessity for the most part.
Who cares why? He's still coming on now. Kittle is balling out. And we've always said if that dude can stay healthy for a full season, he's probably the best tight end in the league because he is the best blocking tight end, arguably. And he can go out and catch passes like Kelce. Ayuk has been drastically underused this year. Not a surprise to me. I kind of figure that's exactly what it would happen. Debo's starting to come on. The run game, I think, for San Francisco has kind of fallen off the last couple of weeks. Not in a we can't run the ball way, but just in a we're not just going to run it down your throat. We don't have to do anything else kind of way. The Chiefs just continue to find ways to win. Kareem Hunt's going to get a lot of touches. Can he continue to produce like he has the last couple weeks? And can they get another receiver going other than Kelce? Juju stepped up a little bit. Sky Moore hasn't done anything, but he's still there.
It's Juju and Kelce. Those are the two guys.
I agree. It just becomes very, very interesting. Both really good defenses. It's going to be a good game.
49ers want to exercise some demons in this game.
Absolutely.
That's what
I personally, I would take the 49ers. Coin flip kind of scenario again, Cody, but I think I would lean towards the 49ers in this game.
I'm with you on this one. I'm leading the 49ers as well on this. Is the 49ers at home?
Yes.
Yeah, give me the 49ers at home.
Michael George, both of he's on Twitter, so I don't think they can hear or they can't see our response on Twitter, but I mean, Travis is almost 35. George is going to be 31 this year, so youth is at least on George's side at this point. But I got the 49ers in this game. I think the Chiefs have gotten a lot of luck. And again, well, I shouldn't say that. They just know how to win. Their coach is a great coach. They know how to win. They have great defense. Their defense probably doesn't get as much credit as it should. The Chiefs are a defensive team, believe it or not. Mahomes is actually right now the 19th ranked quarterback, stats wise. It's not great.
This might sound a little wild, but I think it's about as close to an assessment as you can get right now. Mahomes is playing a la Peyton Manning in his final year with the Broncos. He's going to play smart ball that's going to put his team in positions to not lose the game. He's not going to give you a bad turnover. He's not going to give you a bad sack or a bad penalty loss of yards. He's going to be smart with the ball. He's going to allow your team to play the field position game, rely on the defense, and then make the play when it's needed. And that's really what Peyton did his whole last season that got the Broncos into the Super Bowl and then won the Super Bowl. I don't think Peyton gets enough credit for that, in all honesty. That Super Bowl win, while the defense won that game, I think if Brock Osweiler was playing in that game, the Broncos may not win because the defense wouldn't have had the same opportunities that they had. Peyton put the defense in position to be successful. And I think that's really what Mahomes is doing right now for the Chiefs.
And since he's not playing his best football, it's scary that even though he could probably still unleash his best football and they could be even scarier.
That is the kicker. Absolutely.
Last game probably that's worth mentioning is the Sunday night game with the new look Jets versus the Steelers.
The Jets should run away with this game. I mean, just if we're being perfectly honest, what's allowed the Steelers to win this season is twofold. Run the ball enough to control field position and allow that defense to eat. I don't see any way that the Jets allow that to be a possibility. Devontae's going to play. Anybody who thinks he's not playing, you're out of your goddamn mind.
That hamstring was ready as he was already in New York. He was ready.
Anybody that thinks he's going to have a week or two to adjust kind of thing, you're out of your mind. He's going back to an offense he was in for 10 years. He's going back to a quarterback that knows exactly what movement he's going to break on to where the ball needs to be thrown. You can't ask for a better situation. And the Jets have already looked like they're starting to figure it out. And there's been some rust or some learning curve, if you will, that looked like it was on the verge of getting corrected this last week and didn't quite get there. If you don't think this is a get-right game for the Jets, come talk to me and tell me why, because I would love to know the reasoning.
I mean,
and if Russ starts, this is going to get ugly fast because he's not going to be he's avoiding nothing. Okay. And if I'm the Jets, I would just send at least 5 every play if Russ is starting, legitimately, because I don't think he can do enough to avoid it because he doesn't have enough weapons to help him avoid it.
Well, and he can't see the middle of the field anyway, so
fact.
It's pretty easy. Just Sauce, DJ Reed, keep your guys. He's not going to throw in the middle. We're good.
Give me the Jets by 2 touchdowns.
The line is Jets 1.5.
Smash that and run.
Take it.
Smash the shit out of that and run.
Please.
And I think
1.5.
1.5. And
that line is moving before Sunday, ladies and gentlemen. I assure you that line's moving. Grab it while you can.
As soon as Russ gets named the starter, that probably goes to 3.5. So grab the 1.5 right now. Do yourself a favor.
That's funny.
All right, boys. Closing thoughts.
It's gonna be a good week for football for the team.
I feel like we've got a really good matchups. I'm excited.
Good
Broncos
things.
play Thursday, so no matter what, Sunday is no Broncos. I don't have any stress or anxiety or anything. It's just we're already done.
Just enjoying the Sunday.
There you go.
Cody, what are your final thoughts?
You know, it's always a pleasure being on here with you fellas. You know, watch that Utah hockey club. Avs need a goalie. And let's go Texans.
Love it. Love it. Robert?
Hey man, I'm gonna finally watch episode 4 of The Penguin tomorrow. Looking forward to that. That's my big highlight. So that's it, man.
You want a little nonsense out there, ladies and gentlemen? Hit us up. Between Robert and I, we will nonsensical the shit out of you. And Robert is much more in his wheelhouse within that area,
Resident
and will
nerd.
Yeah, will for sure outshine me even, regardless of how closet I want to be. Look, I'm gonna be a homer tonight, Pinky. I'm really looking forward to the Nebraska-Indiana game. I think this is a prove-it game for both teams, and it can truly set the rest of the year for both teams. So I'm really excited because it has big implications for the Big Ten and the playoffs as a whole as well, depending on how the rest of the season plays out. So I have a reason to be excited finally. It's a meaningful game that they being the Huskers actually have put themselves in position to play a meaningful game, which I haven't had in years. So I'm super excited for that and to see how they can really show the growth. And Indiana, I think, is a really good team. So I'm hoping my Huskers can do it because I don't think Indiana's seen a defense as good as Nebraska. But Nebraska's still playing a freshman quarterback, and their best weapon on offense probably outside of the quarterback is still a freshman. So there's still some growing pains that need to be learned. Can they put it all together for a game? We'll see. But, college football is alive and well this season, and I am loving every single minute of it. Pinky has enjoyed his whiskey this evening and has dipped out a second time for us. Robert, do you have any nonsense that you wanted to throw out there so we can give Pinky a minute to get back?
Dude, The Penguin, just watch it, please. It's so good. It's
Look,
amazing.
listen to the man, because there's been nothing but positive things coming out about it, and I can't wait to get started. I think I'm actually going to start it tomorrow, Robert.
And from what I've gathered from this episode, as much spoiler-free as I can be with it, because I've avoided everything that I can. This is supposed to be this is one of the highest rated episodes of all time for TV on IMDb right now.
Nice.
So this specific episode. So I am very, very interested. This show is.
Does James Gunn have anything to do with this?
Nope. This is the Elseworlds timeline.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm worried about.
Matt Reeves is. I don't know what his Batman shit's gonna be, and that's a conversation topic for another day. I'm in love with this Robert Pattinson, Matt Reeves, Batman, mob-esque. This is it.
Love it. Pinky, your final thoughts, good sir.
Man, I'm excited. I go to Corn tomorrow night. I haven't seen Corn in quite a few years.
Nice.
So it should be a good time. Going with our buddy Andy. So we get some bro time.
For those younger generations who are not familiar, Korn is a heavy-ish metal band type.
Nu metal.
Nu metal was what I was going to say. I wasn't sure if that still applied. But really good. If you don't know anything, just go listen to Freak on a Leash, and that should draw you into everything else.
Great song. I actually forgot to mention, I'm seeing Iron Maiden on Saturday, so there's also that.
Nice.
Don't get too
on that
crazy.
Note, ladies and gentlemen, we can't thank you enough for the support. Truly cliche. Don't care.
Hey,
We'll continue to say it. We cannot thank you enough. Everyone that supports us, follows us, shares, likes, converses, doesn't matter. To our boy Cody for showing up again. Repeat offender. We love you, my guy. If you have those moments with your loved ones, inner circle, family, friends, whoever you consider that to be, Cherish those moments. Do not take them for granted, and jump on every opportunity you have when they come around. Till next week, we appreciate everyone. Love you. We're out.
Night.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Tempo's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east.